Story 1. My wife came home from work with a suspicious bug bite on her neck and acting distant. When I confronted her, she finally admitted she cheated with a coworker. I'm 27M, in a fight with my wife, 28F. We've had fights before, but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts, married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter for F. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job includes annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year's was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles, so I stayed behind and held down the fort at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system. If either of us is away for extended periods, we keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on read, while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But my wife backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that, nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair and this was a networking opportunity. They were business-oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised her that she'd rain-check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. That whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One coworker, 23M, was almost in every picture/video, attached to her hip. In one picture, he had his arm too comfortably around her. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texted my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife had brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd question, she'd say she was tired or networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kind of brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present, but when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believe she had a hickey and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out. She was offended and pissed at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of infidelity, so we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with a hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her. But this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite. It looks like a hickey. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks ever since, and we're caught between arguing and her showering our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Comments where OP has replied. Comment 1. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've never gotten a bug bite that looked like a hickey. Did she show you her phone or provide any proof that could support her innocence? Or just dismiss you? The extra affection is a common move from guilt-ridden cheaters. Even if we stretch the imagination and believe it is a bug bite, she wasn't acting trustworthy, nor was she a good mother while she was in Vegas, and she needs to address and correct that. OP, no, I haven't had access to her phone. We usually have an open phone policy, but it's not something we've ever really done. I'm sure it'll be another argument. Comment 2. Why did you go on work trips with her in the past? Did she want you to? Or did you not want her to go alone? What is and why is it necessary to have the system when one of you is away? Whose idea was the FaceTime birthday celebration? Did she not talk to the daughter at all on her birthday or just couldn't do the FaceTime celebration? OP, work-life balance was an issue, so she'd invite me on the retreats. The system is for extended periods away from each other, like how long the retreat was, especially since we have a child now. The birthday FaceTime was my wife's idea. She promised our daughter and got her excited about it. No, she didn't talk with our daughter until she was calling to cancel. That's another reason the birthday stunt rubbed me the wrong way. Update 1, February 28, 2025. I, 27M, wanted to give an update and thank everyone who reached out. The outside perspectives helped. Things are a roller coaster. I'm trying to process it. It took a while for my wife, 28F, and me to have any real conversation about the bruise on her neck. We were stuck between arguing and her showering our daughter, for F and me with affection. I rarely saw the bruise because she was turtlenecked up, but I did note the healing process from reddish purple to yellow. There wasn't any more discussion about the Vegas retreat. She made it clear she was done talking about it and that she shouldn't need to defend herself to her husband. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I was done being treated like an idiot, and I wasn't sharing a bed with someone I couldn't trust. So I moved into the guest room. Communication stopped. The silences were palpable. Even our daughter noticed. I'm not proud of that. I try keeping her out of fights. My wife came to the guest room one night and asked if we could talk. I could tell she'd been crying. She said she hated the way things were between us. She felt she was losing me either way. I told her I needed complete honesty. She confessed she hooked up with that coworker, 23M, on our daughter's birthday. The hickey was from him. She was lost in the heat of the moment and didn't realize he was sucking so hard on her neck. By her account, they made out while doing some on top of the clothes stuff, and then he went down on her. It stopped there because he called her by a nickname that I affectionately call her. It snapped her back to the reality of her actions. She went to splash water on her face and saw the hickey. The guy made light of it and made a joke about the hickey being her souvenir. She blew up on him and kicked him out of her suite. Part of the reason she was avoiding me was out of guilt. She said she's coming clean because she doesn't want to hide things anymore. I asked her why she cheated. What was it about that guy she deemed worth risking everything? She claimed it wasn't him specifically, nor is she unhappy with our marriage. She doesn't really know how to explain it, but a part of her feels broken. The more she looks in the mirror, the more she sees her dad, 57M. A cycle of being consumed with work, distant from his child, and the infidelity he put her mom, 55F, through. She said her family never talked about anything openly and how when she was growing up, my MIL never addressed anything with her. I said her parents didn't make her cheat. She chose to party up with a guy who constantly disrespected our relationship. These were all her decisions, and she at any point could have chosen our family. She agreed. She wants to blame her parents but realizes this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for entertaining the guy's advances. She said she'll do whatever it takes to repair, go to HR, quit her job, counseling, anything. She wants to make everything right. I told her I don't know what right looks like or if that's possible for us anymore. I knew we had our problems, but I thought there wasn't anything we couldn't talk out. She insisted we still could talk it out. we didn't have to give up on us. She tried giving this rallying cry for our relationship, but I felt very numb. I said I didn't recognize her. Not just the betrayal of our vows, but also how she treated our daughter. She's like a stranger. She feels she failed as a wife and mom, but she loves us both beyond words and wants our life together and our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted and thought we needed to separate and reevaluate. She didn't want separation. She felt we should stay together in our home, but I told her a separation was happening. Either she was leaving the home or I was, with our daughter. She consented to leaving so as to best not uproot our daughter so much. She asked for our daughter not to be taken away from her. My wife's staying with my in-laws. I know that's difficult in itself because she doesn't have the best relationship with her parents. One of the hardest parts is the shift for our daughter. Right now, she believes her mom's just busy with work, per usual. She hasn't questioned it too much. My MIL called the other day. She made no excuses for my wife, but she's advocating for us to work through it. She told me times when she heard my wife describe me as the anchor she always wanted. She believes there's something worth fighting for if I'm open. Despite some family opposition we faced throughout our relationship, my MIL was always a supporter of us. I'm even more at a loss. I never imagined this kind of betrayal from my wife. She was my safe place. I feel numb yet broken. I'm in love with her. That hasn't changed. But I don't see myself, her, our relationship or our family the same. Everything's more tense because it's fresh. I think this period of separation is for the best. I'm not sure about divorce. I haven't let myself fully go there. I'm not set either way. I don't know where things go from here, but I'm focusing on our daughter and taking things one step at a time. I feel that's all I can do right now. Thanks again to everyone for the support. It's much appreciated. Update 2, March 14th, 2025. Thank you again to everyone. I, 27M, couldn't respond to every message, but everything's appreciated. I wanted to provide an update. Things have been a little chaotic with the new status quo after my wife's 28F affair, but I'm taking everything one step at a time. My wife and I explained the separation to our daughter, for F in simple, concrete terms, and reassured her that we both still love her without going into the reasons behind the separation. Our daughter's always been an observant kid, but I don't think the separation has hit her yet. She doesn't see the difference between her mom not being home and her usual busy with work. During visits, she's more distant towards her mom and clings to me. My wife attempted to play with her on this toy set, but our daughter wasn't having it and shouted at her mom that she didn't want to play with her. The disconnect between my daughter and wife hurts in a way I'm still processing. I knew my wife's work-life balance took its toll, and pre-Vegas we were supposed to be working on reconnecting, but just how fractured things are is a lot more apparent. Our daughter interacts very little with her mom and becomes quiet around her, like she does with strangers. I feel at her age, we as her parents should be who she's closest with and not this disconnected from her mom. Their dynamic is something I've been reflecting on. My main focus is making sure my daughter's okay through all of this. As far as between my wife and me, she's advocating for us to reconcile. She's expressed she wants to work on our marriage, not solely for our daughter, but because she loves me. Her rally cries for our relationship are still falling flat for me. I can't give her what she wants right now. I told her I wish she would have given herself these rallies before cheating. She's adamant about the affair timeline and what occurred with the coworker, 23M. They connected because she felt bad he wasn't fitting in. He kept flirting and treating her like royalty. It started feeling good on the rougher work days. They had an emotional affair, even though she didn't label it as such at the time. The EA turned physical during the retreat. She dissociated from her life back home while away in Vegas. She still swears they had sex only once. The hickey came from foreplay, and while giving her oral, he called her my nickname for her, which shook her out of it. She snapped at him about his immature attitude with the hickey and then kicked him out of her suite. She thought she could quietly end things and salvage our marriage. I asked her if she wore her wedding ring during sex with him. She confessed that she did. Knowing this hurts like hell. To me, our wedding rings were a physical symbol of our love, commitment to our vows, and our bond. She tarnished our rings. I haven't been able to wear mine. It never hurts any less. There are just new levels to the hurt. She admits to contributing to blurred lines. She's now changed her number and claims to have cut contact with the coworker. She reported the affair to HR. The company has suspended both of them while they investigate the extent to which the affair impacted the department, coworker relations, and violated their policy. It doesn't look good for my wife in terms of power balance since she was the guy's mentor. They're also calling into question if she gave him favoritism. Some have suggested I reach out to the coworker. I've considered it, but I'm not in a place to. I feel a lot of anger towards him. He knew exactly what he was doing with the hickey and nickname stunt. I wouldn't get anything from him except trouble. He's not worth it. I'm choosing to focus on our daughter. I've chosen to pursue marriage counseling. This isn't under the promise of reconciling, but as an assist in working through this separation as healthy as possible for our daughter. I'm still numb in a lot of ways. I never thought this would be how my marriage and family turned out. I've seen it happen to others. I've heard stories. I thought I knew what it was like, but it's nothing compared to dealing with it yourself. I don't feel like the same person anymore. I don't know how everything will pan out. It's an uphill battle, but I'm trying to show up to the battle. It's the best I can do right now. Thank you to everyone who has reached out. I appreciate the support, really. Update 3. Thank you again to everyone who's reached out. I27M wanted to provide an update. Things aren't easy. I don't expect them to be. I don't regret the decision to separate. It was necessary. In many ways, I feel like my hand was forced with the betrayal and all the lies. I'm still finding my footing. I don't put people on pedestals, nor did I ever believe my wife's, 28F, and my relationship was perfect. I just didn't think we'd end up like this after all this time together. While HR were still conducting their investigation on my wife and the coworker 23M, my wife resigned. Apparently, she received pushback. Some of the top brass were pulling for her to stay on. I wasn't too surprised because she's always been a yes employee who gets the job done. She worked with the company back as an intern in college. She said she wants to prove that she's taking every possible action and cutting ties with the guy. I don't know what the investigation result was for him. I don't care, to be honest. It's not a concern of mine. We've officially begun marriage counseling. It's a new experience overall. I didn't know what to expect. We're mostly discussing our relationship's journey up to now, the affair, and what we want from counseling. My wife's position on how the affair began remains consistent. She can't really explain it precisely. She wasn't unhappy with me, but a part of her feels broken. The undivided, special attention became like a drug to her. The conversation kind of shifted to my in-laws, 57M/55F, my wife's family life, and the impact of my FIL's infidelity. She believes she's a reflection of her dad and how she is as both a parent and a spouse. As a parent, she tried convincing herself she was better than him by showering our daughter, for F, with gifts in light of her lacking presence. As a spouse, she tried convincing herself she was better because the affair wasn't physical pre-Vegas. She thought as long as they didn't do anything physical, then she was better than her dad. That was something she told her affair partner while in Vegas, actually. They could hang out as long as it didn't turn physical. I feel like she had so many chances to choose differently, to choose us and our family, but she tossed our daughter and myself to the train tracks. Our relationship wasn't enough to stop her. Our wedding rings weren't enough, and our crying daughter wasn't enough. She chose herself every time. She was selfish. She mentions the nickname thing making her snap back to reality as if it's supposed to make me feel better. It doesn't. I believe she only stopped at oral because she got off and had no more need to go further. I wasn't on her mind. Telling me that was like trying to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. I didn't plan to say half of everything I did, but there was no going back once the door was open. During my turn to talk, she agreed and said she has no excuse for her actions. It's not her parents. It's just her. She swore that she loves me and our daughter and wants to fight for our family. I told her that the I love yous felt hollow now. She shut out our daughter and myself to give an intimate part of herself to her coworker. She said she realizes how much larger than just the affair our problems are. She struggles connecting with our daughter and worries about messing her up, so she left the primary caretaking to me. She believes I'm better at it. She said that there's nothing she can say to change anything, but she wants to show change through her present actions. That's some stuff we've dug through in counseling. We're still in the early stages, but I believe it's aiding in communication through separation, which is more healthy for our daughter. Our therapist recommended individual counseling as a complement. It's something I'm seriously researching for myself. Not much has changed with our daughter since the previous update. She still doesn't feel there's a difference between her mom being home or not. I've watched her go from talkative and playful to instantly, completely silent when her mom came by. I've scheduled her for play therapy. I don't know what to expect from that either, but I'm hoping for the best. My main goal is being present for her. I know I need to learn how to trust again in general. That's shot right now. Pre-Vegas, I never had a reason to doubt my wife. My trust was something she had as an irreplaceable partner. I've been betrayed before, but this one did a number in a way the others hadn't. I'm trying to stay afloat and focus on what I have rather than what I lost. I can't afford to get lost in myself. Thank you to everyone for the support and for sharing your own experiences. Talking about all this isn't easy for me, but I appreciate the openness. Now on to the next story. Story 2. My wife is furious because a new employee sat on my desk, made come-back-to-bed jokes, and everyone at work already knew she had a crush on me, while I was completely oblivious. I need advice badly, so I'm trying here. Mods, please don't remove this. I'm desperate. I know this is long, but it's necessary. My marriage might be on the line. Help a bro out. My wife and I have been married for 2 years, together for 8. She's never been the jealous type until just recently with this situation, and honestly, I'm completely lost on what to do. Like, this isn't her at all, and I don't know how to handle it. I started a new job about a year ago. It's a management position and requires a lot of recruiting. I've been doing pretty good building a team I need to in order to advance further, and I'm so close to getting that promotion I've been working towards. I make great money doing what I do and have been able to give my wife and I a much better quality of life as a result. We were able to finally buy that house we wanted, take a couple of weekend trips, and I even surprised her with a new car for her birthday. Things have been good, really good, up until this whole thing started. Our relationship has always been solid. We met at a friend's party. She spilled her drink on me and then spent the next 20 minutes apologizing. I thought she was cute when she was flustered. We exchanged numbers and the rest is history. She's always been super supportive of my career. When I was struggling at my last job, she encouraged me to take a risk and apply for this new position. She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. That's why this whole situation is so frustrating. She's never acted like this before. Anyway, one of my recent recruits is a young female. She's a great addition to my team. She brings in awesome numbers, very teachable, and all around just fun to have in the office. And yes, she's very attractive, but I'm faithful and love my wife and would never do something inappropriate. I'd never even consider it. My wife is honestly hotter anyway. Not that it matters. The weird thing is my wife absolutely hates her. I'm not used to this from her at all. I've had female friends and colleagues in the past, attractive ones too. It's never been a problem. But this girl, holy. We've been fighting constantly now, like multiple times a week. My wife keeps saying there's something off about her, and she doesn't trust her. I honestly don't see it. The new girl, let's call her NG, is professional, friendly with everyone, and just a normal coworker as far as I can tell. One night my wife was going through my work phone, which I let her do. I have nothing to hide. She saw some texts between me and NG. It was all work-related. Scheduling meetings, discussing clients, normal office stuff. But my wife got all weird about it. She started questioning why NG was texting me at 8 p.m. I explained that we were finalizing a presentation for the next day, but she wasn't buying it. It's like she's convinced herself that something is going on. Part of team building and keeping your team motivated is being social with them. This is encouraged by the higher-ups, who even cover the cost of nights out to hang out with your team in an informal setting. We call them team bonding nights, and they happen about once a month. We encourage team members to bring their spouses too. since it's supposed to be a fun night out. My wife has come to most of these and usually has a good time. She gets along well with everyone else on the team. Well, about 3 weeks ago, we were supposed to have one of these nights, but we had 2 road trips going on, so most of my team was out of town. I only had NG and another new guy in town, and the new guy bailed last minute because his kid got sick or something. Normally my wife would come, but she was working that night, so it ended up just being NG and myself eating wings and having some drinks at the sports bar near our office. It wasn't even my idea to still go. NG was the one who said we should still do it even though everyone else canceled. I didn't think it was a big deal. We're adults, not teenagers. It's perfectly normal for coworkers to grab food and drinks. I would have done the same with any of my male employees. My wife called to say she was off early and could come join, but I decided that since everyone was gone, that maybe she should sit this one out because NG was really new and I didn't want to third wheel her. I thought it might be awkward for NG to suddenly have my wife there when she was expecting a team thing. I thought my wife would understand, but nope. Wife didn't like that at all. To top it off, NG thinks she's being funny and says loudly, "Come back to bed," while I'm on the phone. She was obviously joking, but my wife gets pissed hearing that. It's unprofessional for me to fight with her on the phone in front of a new recruit, so I kind of cut her short and said I had to go. My intention was to smooth it over later. I also, by the way, told NG that wasn't actually funny and it was also inappropriate, and I'd appreciate her holding herself to a higher professional standard in dealings with people related to our business in the future. She seemed to understand and apologized, saying she was just trying to be funny. We ended up finishing our drinks and I went home. NG wanted to check out some other bar nearby, but I said I had to get home to deal with my wife. NG made some comment like, "Oh, is someone in trouble?" which I ignored. I just paid the bill and left. Well, wife wasn't having it when I got home. She went off on me for like an hour. Why would I not want her there? Why am I alone with this woman? Why would this employee joke about me being in bed with her? On and on and on. Eventually, in the berating, I said something like, "She's not even attractive, you have nothing to worry about. Anyway, I only love you." But my wife said I was lying, which just made her more upset. She's still pissed but calms down a little, and whatever, I think we're past it. Then nothing happens for like a week. Things seem to be getting back to normal. I'm careful not to mention NG around my wife. NG has been normal at work. No more inappropriate jokes or anything. Then the following week, I'm talking to a few people in my office somewhat informally. I basically told my team to get in here for a second to go over something about our quarterly numbers. My office isn't very big. I only have 2 chairs besides mine in there, so those are taken. I have 2 people sitting on a low bookshelf in the back, a few leaning against the walls, etc. It's a small office, but we make it work. There were like 7 people crammed in there. NG comes in last, looks around, and sits on the edge of my desk farthest from me. We have our meeting. Everyone leaves, but NG stays behind. She has a question about what I said regarding the commission structure. Naturally, she turns more towards me as she's talking to me, just normal conversational body language, nothing inappropriate at all. Well, that's the moment my wife walks in with my phone charger and a Starbucks for me. So all she sees is NG sitting on my desk, leaned in towards me, talking to me. I've never seen my wife act like this, but it was embarrassing. She put the stuff down on the nearest surface and just walked out without saying a word. Well, I'm not going to chase her, that'll look bad to my team. So I finish talking to NG, then try to call my wife who won't answer. I should mention that my wife occasionally drops by the office to bring me lunch or coffee or whatever. It's not unusual for her to show up. The weird part was her reaction. She's never just walked out like that before. So I get home later and she's in the shower, crying. WTF? I go in the bathroom and pull back the curtain and she's literally sitting in the tub, knees to her chest, crying in the shower. Why? This is ridiculous. So I get pissed off and leave. I call a few work brothers and meet at the bar to blow off some steam. Well, luck of all luck, NG shows up with them because 2 of the guys I called were already with her at some happy hour thing, and she's dressed to the nines like full makeup, nice dress. I didn't even know she was going to be there. If I'd known, I probably wouldn't have gone considering the situation with my wife. She takes a big group selfie shot and posts it on Facebook. Well, guess what? Yep, the wife saw it. We're all friends on Facebook because of the team events and stuff, and my wife comments, "Nice to see you having so much fun," with that sarcastic tone, to which NG responds, "He's in good hands." And I know that sounds like innuendo, but she swears it's not. I talked to NG the next day and she really said that as an assurance, like, "Don't worry, he's in good hands," and didn't even think about the fact it could be misconstrued. I believe her. The bar night wasn't even that fun. I was stressed about my wife the whole time. I had maybe 2 beers and then went home, but my wife was already asleep or pretending to be. I slept on the couch just to avoid another fight. Anyway, I get home after work the next day, more crying from the wife. She says I'm being willfully ignorant and that it's obvious this girl likes me and is stirring trouble, and that I'm refusing to see it, or that I must really think she, my wife, is stupid. She asked me if she could look at my phone. Then she cried more that I obviously have something to hide, especially because I lied about NG being not attractive. Now, for the last 2 days, I've gotten complete silent treatment. The silent treatment is the worst. She just walks around the house ignoring me completely. If I try to talk to her, she just walks away. She's sleeping in the guest room now. I tried to apologize even though I don't think I did anything wrong. But she won't even listen. What the? I haven't done anything wrong and NG is a good employee. I can't fire her or something just to please my wife. Like, what the does she want me to do? No one's done anything wrong. I don't get what the big deal is. It's affecting my work now too. I'm distracted and stressed all the time. I nearly lost a big client yesterday because I couldn't focus on the call. My boss has noticed something off and asked if everything was okay. I just said I had some personal stuff going on. I didn't want to bring all this drama into work. My friend says my wife is being insecure and I should just wait it out. My brother thinks I should just fire NG to keep the peace. My dad says I'm an idiot for not seeing what's in front of me. I don't know who to listen to. So Reddit, I need to hear what should I do? Update 1. Okay guys. It's clear you all think I'm at best the stupidest person alive and at worst some kind of monster. I can't believe this blew up. RIP my inbox. There's no way I can respond to all of these comments, but I want to clarify a few things. First off, I would never sleep with NG, and while yes, I can recognize that she's physically attractive by most standards, I am not attracted to her, especially not after all the drama her very existence has been causing me. I never meant to imply I was into her at all. I'm not blind. I know when someone is attractive, but that doesn't mean I want to sleep with them. For all of you saying I should have let my wife come to the dinner, you're missing the point. The point of these team outings is for team bonding and spouses are allowed. But I thought my wife would be tired and I didn't plan to stay with NG for long. And yes, the come back to bed comment was inappropriate. I addressed it immediately. What more did you want me to do? Fire her on the spot for one bad joke? That would be an overreaction. For those asking about NG's behavior, yes, she's friendly, maybe too friendly, but she's like that with everyone, not just me. She jokes around with the whole team. She's new and trying to fit in. I've seen her sit on other people's desks too. It's not like she's singling me out. Secondly, I'm not a bad husband. We've had 8 wonderful years together and have been through some pretty tough things before and come out stronger than ever. We've dealt with my wife's mom's cancer. She's fine now. Unemployment mine. A miscarriage. Painful time for both of us. And even had to live with my parents for a while when we were saving for our first place. We've been through a lot together. I've just never been in a situation like this one before. I'm pretty average looking. In fact, my wife is very attractive, and normally it would be me with insecurities, but I've never made my insecurities her problem. Thirdly, I'm willing to admit some of you may be right about what's going on. If it's so obvious to so many people, including my wife, I'm not arrogant enough to say you're all wrong and I'm right. I mean, I posted for a reason after all. Maybe NG is into me. I don't know. A lot of you are saying I'm being naive. Maybe she is flirting with me and I just don't recognize it because I'm not used to that kind of attention. I went back and thought about some other interactions with NG that I didn't mention in my original post. There was a time she asked me to help remove some boxes in the storage room. Maybe that was unnecessary. There was also a time she complimented my new haircut and touched my arm while doing it. Is that flirting? I honestly don't know. I'm terrible at reading these signals. Finally, though, I'm still not sure how to proceed. We don't have an HR department as we're still a small office. It's basically my boss, 2 other people at my level, and our teams. We're in management and sales, by the way. I probably should have mentioned that. The way you guys are talking, I'm a little frightened that this could get turned on me if NG wants to be vindictive or something. I haven't done anything inappropriate, but I'm higher up in mail, and given how I've apparently messed this up, how would my wife react if NG tried to allege anything against me for letting her go or something? A lot of you are saying I need to choose between my marriage and this employee. I get that, but it's not that simple. This is my career we're talking about. I've worked hard to get where I am. If I fire NG without cause, that could blow back on me. If I tell my boss the real reason I want her gone, I'll look unprofessional. If I transfer her, she might still cause problems. I'm really stuck here. I want to fix things with my wife, but I don't want to risk my career either. Everyone's telling me to get rid of NG, but it's not that simple. Then again, my marriage is important too. I love my wife. I don't want to lose her over this, but I also don't want to set a precedent where she can decide who I work with. That doesn't seem healthy either. I'm going to try to talk to my wife again tonight. Maybe I can get her to calm down and we can discuss this rationally. I'll update again if there's any development. Update 2. Okay, well, I've been talking to my wife off and on all day since I posted, echoing some of your sentiments and apologizing, trying to be empathetic, but she really isn't too interested in anything I have to say, although she is actually speaking to me nonetheless, so I guess that's something. At least the silent treatment is over. I gave NG an assignment that requires her to be mostly out of the office and in the field next couple days, under supervision of someone else, so we shouldn't really have contact for now while this is getting sorted. I didn't want to have to see her while I'm trying to figure out what to do. I also spoke with one of my coworkers, a guy who's been at the company longer than me, asked him what he thought about NG, trying to be casual about it. He gave me a funny look and said, "Dude, she's got a thing for you. Everyone can see it." That was a bit of a wake-up call. If everyone else can see it, why couldn't I? I spoke to my boss briefly as well. Didn't give him all the details. Just said I was having some concerns about NG's professionalism. He seemed receptive and said we could discuss it more thoroughly tomorrow. That made me feel a little better about the possibility of dealing with this without completely nuking my career. It went about as well as could be expected. When I got home, I explained that I really didn't get the whole situation, but that I do now. I showed her this post. I apologized and told her I was willing to do whatever I could to make this right. I reassured her over and over and over again that I didn't cheat on her. She's not sure she believes me about cheating or sincerely understanding what I've done wrong. But in any case, she's incredibly hurt. After much discussion and tears and begging from me, this is what she wants from me: space. She wants me to move out for a while, and she doesn't have a set time for when I can come back. This sucks, but I get it. She says she needs time to think without me around trying to convince her everything is fine. Counseling. For both of us as a couple and separately. She says this incident isn't the first time that I've been unable to see things from her point of view, and I've hurt her as a result. And not only that, but she feels she needs help trusting me again. I'm willing to do this if it helps. She mentions something about my emotional intelligence needing work, whatever that means. NG needs to go. Like many of you, she thinks, putting it mildly, that NG needs to go away, far, far away, and she wants me to tell NG why and wants to be able to listen in somehow. I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. I feel like that crosses some sort of line professionally. Whether I'm willing or not, I told her I'd talk to my boss about options for letting NG go, but I wasn't comfortable having her listen in on that conversation. That didn't go over well. Finally, she said she doesn't know what's going to happen with us, even if I do all these things. She cried a lot, which isn't surprising. I feel awful and scared and really stupid. I love my wife. I haven't done a good job of showing it lately. I realize that now, but I really don't want to lose her. She brought up some other instances where she felt I've been dismissive of her feelings. Apparently, I do this a lot. I didn't realize. There was a time last year when she was upset about something her sister said, and I told her she was overreacting. She still heard about that. There was another time when she wanted to redecorate the living room, and I shut down her ideas without really considering them. I didn't think these were big deals at the time, but they obviously were to her. I'll be speaking to my boss tomorrow about how best to deal with this, as far as letting NG go or transferring her or something. Wife wants her fired, period. I'll see what I can do. I'm in a motel right now. I spoke to my father and he pretty much told me I'm an idiot and to do whatever it takes to fix this. My parents are very fond of my wife. My mom actually called me to yell at me too, which was fun. One thing that's bothering me is that NG texted me late last night asking why I'd given her assignment to someone else. I didn't respond. Then she texted again asking if everything was okay and saying we should talk about whatever is going on. I still haven't responded. I don't know what to say to her. Thanks again, guys. I didn't know how bad this was. God only knows how much worse this would have gotten. I'll update again after I talk to my boss. Update 3. I had the meeting with my boss this morning. It went better than expected. I told him the whole situation. How NG had been inappropriate, how it was causing problems at home, everything. He was surprisingly understanding. He said that he'd noticed some concerning behaviors from NG himself, but hadn't wanted to jump to conclusions. Apparently, she's been quite flirtatious with some of the clients too, which isn't good for business. We agreed that the best course of action would be to let her go, since she is still in her probationary period. We don't need to provide a detailed reason. He suggested recording the termination meeting for legal protection, which I agreed to. My wife was pleased when I told her this and asked if she could listen to the recording afterward. I said yes, hoping this would help rebuild some trust. NG kept texting me throughout the day. Can we talk? Are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong? I didn't respond to any of these. My boss said it would be better to have the conversation in person with him present. I stayed at the motel again last night. It's a depressing place. Thin walls, uncomfortable bed, weird stains on the carpet. I could hear the couple next door fighting most of the night. Ironic considering my situation. I barely slept. Update 4. Late reply, I know, but it was a day. So much has happened since I last updated. NG took her firing okay, I guess. She did heavily deny that her intention was to be inappropriate. She also expressed some upset that it was unfair since other people in the office make jokes too. My boss spoke up at that point to say that others don't make jokes like that, and that I had already warned her once about being inappropriate in that particular regard. Again, she denied that her comment about me being in good hands was anything other than an innocent mistake. Again, my boss stepped in and said that as a new employee, she was still under probation and therefore he could dismiss her without explanation if he wanted, and that he just did not feel she was a good fit. He threw the ball back to me, so to speak, and asked if I agreed, and I said yes, we were in agreement. The whole meeting was tense and awkward. She kept looking at me like she expected me to defend her. At one point, she asked if this was because of my wife's jealousy issues. That pissed me off. I told her it was about her unprofessional behavior, not my wife. My boss backed me up on that. She just sort of shrugged and said, well, I don't know what to say then. Goodbye, I guess. And then as she collected her things and left, she threw a pot shot at me that in my dreams she'd be interested in me. My wife listened to the recording. I don't think it was what she wanted. She seemed disappointed. I think she wanted me to really tell NG off good. And, maybe I should have, but my boss was involved and we were trying to get rid of NG without rocking the business. Wife was happy though that NG is gone. But then she got kind of weird. I was confused because I thought that's what she wanted. She ended up crying and basically said that she was still scared that I'd see NG, especially with me staying at a motel. Who knows what I'm doing? She doesn't know what to think anymore. With me out of the house, she has to trust me, but right now she doesn't trust me. I was honestly confused by this reaction. I'd done what she asked by giving her space and NG was gone. What more did she want? I asked her this and she just cried harder. She said something about how she shouldn't have to explain why she's upset. I still don't fully get it. Did she want me to be more aggressive with NG? Did she want me to admit to something I didn't do? I'm lost. So I said there was nothing to worry about, like my saying that mattered in any way, and that if she wanted, I'd stay at the house but in our spare room or something. That wasn't good either, 'cause she doesn't want me there right now. So I just admitted that I really didn't know what to do. Then she said she didn't even know what she wants either. I ended up taking a beat to call my parents and asked if I could stay with them for a while. They said that was okay. My wife liked that arrangement more as well, I guess because then I'm supervised. I tried not to be insulted by that because I know I'm in the wrong here, so I should just take it. While sitting on the couch talking, watching her cry, she asked me to just hold her. I had tried to earlier, but she pushed me away. Anyway, so I held her, then we ended up kissing, then etc. etc. I'll let you fill it in. But I was kicked back out shortly after to pack my things from the motel and go to my parents. She said she still loves me, of course, but that she's still pissed off and hurt and unsure of things regardless of what happened tonight. And seeing how hurt she is and being so scared of not having her anymore, I'm really getting how much I've sucked lately, and not even just in this scenario. She's been really patient with me and I've been a mess. I reread my original post and I'm actually embarrassed at how selfish I've been. It's been a weird few days at my parents' house. My dad keeps giving me these disappointed looks and my mom keeps trying to give me marriage advice I didn't ask for. I feel like a teenager again, and not in a good way, but at least I'm saving money on that crappy motel. Work is awkward now too. Everyone knows NG is gone and I think they all suspect why. Nobody said anything directly, but I've caught a few knowing looks. I checked NG's social media yesterday. I know I shouldn't have, and she's already updated her LinkedIn with a new job. That was fast. At least I don't have to worry about running into her again. We've got our first counseling session scheduled for next week. I don't know if this is going to work out, but I'm trying. I hope she doesn't give up on me. My wife did say one thing that stuck with me. She said that this situation showed her that I don't prioritize her feelings over other people's convenience, and that's what hurt the most. I never thought of that way before. I always thought I was being fair and reasonable, but maybe I was just being selfish. For those wondering about where we stand now, we're still in this weird limbo. I'm at my parents', she's at our house. We text throughout the day, mostly about practical stuff like bills or the house. We had dinner together once, which was stilted and uncomfortable. She says she needs more time. I'm trying to give her that. Any advice on what I should do next? Has anyone else been through something like this? Now on to the next story. Story 3. My ex abandoned me and vanished with his affair partner, leaving his heir at my doorstep. So I adopted him. But 4 years later, he came back wanting to be a father again. My F29 life at this point is nothing short of a TV drama that I was reluctantly made a part of. I have faced every trial that life has thrown my way, but now it is getting a little too much. I was finally on the verge of moving on and restarting my life, but my dear ex-husband, Wes, has come back and made life miserable and difficult for me all over again. I got married to my husband quite early when I was 21 years old and he was 25. We were childhood sweethearts, and I always knew that he was the guy I wanted to spend my life with. He had been my senior in school and lived just 2 blocks away. I always had a crush on him, and I am sure he knew that. Heck, the entire school knew it, but he never tried to pursue me. I think the age gap deterred him, and rightly so, or it would have been very creepy and problematic otherwise. Once he graduated from school, he went on to study engineering at one of the top colleges in the country. When he left, I was just 14 years old and was getting out of the clingy and cringe phase of my teens. I outgrew my crush on him, and it was easier because we were not in contact. I stopped keeping tabs on him, and he became a faint memory in my mind. By the time I graduated from school 4 years later, when I was in my first year of college, I happened to bump into him in a club I was partying in. I was there with my friends, and one of my friends, Hera, told me that a guy had been checking me out for a long time. When I looked over in that direction, I didn't recognize him. He looked familiar, but I was too drunk to even place him correctly. I told Hera to ignore him and continued partying, but she said that he was being really weird and that I needed to confront him or she would. The thing with Hera is that she has a very bad mouth, and I knew that if she went over to talk to the guy, it would just end up in a lot of drama and chaos, and I didn't want that spoiling my night. I told her that I would talk to him and that she didn't have to worry. I went over to the guy and asked him what his deal was, but he simply said that I resembled someone he knew from school, someone named Sarah. We got to talking, and I then realized that he was the same guy I had a huge crush on in school. By that point in time, I was completely over him and could actually joke about it and make fun of myself. He asked for my number, but initially I thought nothing of it. Gradually, however, it became evident that he was trying to pursue me, and God, it felt so validating. Here was a man who was chasing me like a cutesy little lover boy, and he was the same guy I used to blush around for years and years when I was a pimply teenager. Honestly, the minute I saw him, I developed a crush on him again, but I let him pursue me for a while. I was loving the chase, and I was not going to let him off easy. He had graduated from college by then and was doing quite well for himself. As soon as we became friends, I realized that I could go to him for emotional support. I could talk to him and feel better. It felt like a true companionship. We got close pretty soon, and it was like having a crush on my best friend. 6 months after our chance meeting, he asked me out, and that was when my belief in our togetherness was reaffirmed. I had thought that I would end up with him ever since I was 12 years old. But let's be real, that was just a kid's wishful thinking. I had let go of that fantasy as I grew up, especially after he left for college. But when he asked me out, I knew that we were endgame and nothing could ever keep us apart. I wish somebody had told me that I was about to make the biggest mistake of my life and that this man would be the reason for so much mental agony and tears that words could not describe. 2 years later, we got married. I was still in college when we were married, but that wasn't an issue because we were madly in love, sure about each other, and he was doing really well for himself, so we were sorted on the financial front until I finished my degree. It was an intimate ceremony with only close family, and I thought that was the best day of my life. Turns out it was actually my biggest mistake. I completed my education and picked up a job, and both our incomes combined allowed us to afford and enjoy a good lifestyle from a young age. We were very happy, at least that's what I thought. I tried my best to be a good wife and friend to him, and I had no complaints from him either. Of course, we did have our ups and downs like any couple, and it was not always rosy, but we knew where our priorities lay. Right after graduation, we started trying for a baby. Wes had always wanted a large family, and I knew we could afford it, so I was on board too. Ideally, I would have preferred if we took some time to ourselves, but he really wanted it, so I went along with it. We weren't getting any younger anyway, and I know that it's not always easy trying to conceive. I had hoped it would be quick and joyful, but I never knew that I was in for some of the most heartbreaking months of my life. We tried a lot. Initially, we were not stressed. We were two young and healthy individuals, and neither of us had any medical history. Ideally, it shouldn't have been a problem at all, but somehow we were unable to conceive. By about the 4th month of trying, I started getting a little stressed and disheartened. Even though it was mostly Wes's idea, I had grown to like the idea and was looking forward to expanding the family. By the 6-month mark, I knew something was wrong, and I told Wes that we needed to go to the doctor, but he was still optimistic. He said that it just takes time for some people, and unfortunately we were one of those. I did not have a good feeling about this, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want to dampen his spirits. Plus, I knew that what he had said held some truth to it. There could be multiple factors behind why we weren't able to conceive. We kept on trying, but we had no luck. After another 3 months, things got weird and tense at home. I was mad at Wes because he wasn't willing to go to a doctor for checkups and to see what was really wrong. He was mad at me because he felt I was stressing out a lot, both because of work and because of this personal struggle, which was then having a poor impact on our chances of conception. Both of us were not willing to listen to each other, and it was like we had reached a stalemate. Ultimately, I decided, or rather, in hindsight, Wes manipulated me into quitting my job because he made enough for the both of us anyway, so that I would be able to relax and just focus on the family. I was a fool for listening to him, but I did it nonetheless. I knew that this was the only way out of this rut, and to be honest, I was hoping that this little theory of his would be proved right and we would end up with a baby we had been trying so hard for. I quit my job, I did everything he asked me to, but it just did not work. I was getting frustrated, and so was he, and ultimately both of us realized that we had no option other than going to a doctor and seeing what the issue was. We had to take multiple trips to the doctors and multiple tests, and at the end of it, we found out that I would never be able to conceive Wes's kids naturally. It was a devastating blow to both of us. I was perfectly healthy and fertile otherwise, but we were just not a good match. Unfortunately, think Monica and Chandler from Friends, but the only difference was that I had absolutely no support from my husband, let alone support in the way Chandler stood with Monica. It was a trying time for us as a couple, and we took some distance from each other. He blamed me for being the one with a problem because he did not want to admit that it was something that no one could have anticipated and that if it was in fact a problem, both of us were equal parties to it. He was too misogynistic and regressive in his thinking to see the issue as it actually was, and it just created a lot of bitterness and resentment between us. We went for months without talking to each other. We weren't even roommates at that point because I had shifted to another room. All this tension took a huge toll on my mental health. Wes at least had work to escape to. I had nothing to look forward to. No baby, no job, and now a husband who didn't talk to me or who thought I was the problem and the reason why he wouldn't get his dream family. He had shown me literally every red flag, waved it in front of my eyes, and I should have taken them for what they were and left him back then. But I thought we could get through this and that it was just a rough patch. Despite being the one who was hurt more, I ended up taking the first step toward reconciliation. It took us a lot of therapy and counseling to get back together in a solid and loving partnership. In our sessions with the counselor, a lot of unresolved feelings came to the surface from both of our sides, and a lot of harsh words were spoken. It wasn't just him who was being hurtful. I was mean and nasty as well. We were both just suffering, and instead of dealing with this together like partners, we were involved in a perpetual blame game and were just not willing to see the situation for what it actually was. Our therapist, however, was a godsend, and slowly but surely, things started looking better. I thought that the worst was finally over and that we could now start looking towards the future, but I just didn't realize how wrong I was, and the reason for his changed behavior was something else entirely. I was too blind and too in love to see the signs for what they were, and I just allowed this man to walk all over me and break me in ways I hadn't even conjured in my worst nightmares. Like I said, things got better in a few months after therapy, and we started going back to normal. I had picked up a new job, and while it didn't pay as much as the previous one, it was still good and it kept me occupied. Wes and I didn't talk about kids after that, and our therapist had advised us to broach the topic very gently and preferably only after a couple of more sessions. I was still hurt about the entire situation, but my outlook had changed a lot. I realized that even though we could not be biological parents, we could adopt and create a family that way. I wasn't sure if Wes would be okay with this, which is why I didn't say much, but I genuinely thought this was a good idea and one that we could exercise. By this time, it had been around 3 years of our marriage, and while Wes never again brought up the topic of kids, we were getting used to our new normal. However, a year later, I got the biggest blow of my life. COVID had just started, and in the initial stages, we were all worried about what the disease was, and we were just locked in at home. Both Wes and I were working from home, and at that point, there was so much uncertainty that nobody knew when things would get normal again. And one day, Wes just vanished. I was working, and he said that he was going to get some groceries. I told him to lock the door on his way out and continued working. An hour later, I hear the bell ring. I remember feeling annoyed because it could only have been Wes, and I had explicitly told him to lock the door and take the keys so that he didn't disturb my work. I went to open the door, and I saw a young boy standing there with a bag and a letter in his hand. He told me that Daddy and Mommy had given the letter to him and I was supposed to read it. When I saw the letter, my heart shattered into a million pieces. The letter was addressed to me and it was by Wes. I recognized his writing. It basically said that this was his son and he had been having an affair since we were trying to conceive because there was an emotional disconnect and distance between us that he just could not bridge. It started out as something purely physical, but when he got to know that I would never be able to be a mother to his child, something inside him flipped. And it was at that time that his affair partner got pregnant, so he thought that this was divine intervention and that he was meant to have the baby, and he and his affair partner went ahead with it. However, he says that it was getting unbearable for her and him to stay away and that he was leaving with her but leaving their child with me. When I first read it, it felt as though someone had pranked me, but at the exact same time my phone buzzed, and I got the same message in the form of a text from him, verbatim. So I knew this was not a prank. I tried calling him, but he didn't pick up my calls and texted me that he would not be coming back and would neither be talking to me. I just could not believe what had happened to me. In a matter of minutes, he had gone to take groceries, and now he had left me with a 2-year-old kid. I rushed to our room and checked every drawer and closet, and I saw most of his important and sentimental items were gone. Most of his clothes were there, but he had taken enough for sustenance and survival. My head was reeling, and I sank to the floor crying, and I saw the little boy, whose name I did not even know, come to me with his little blue water bottle and offer me water. I don't know why, but I could not feel anything but love and pity for the kid. I should have felt rage. He was the embodiment of my husband's infidelity. I should have felt disgusted because he was the reason my family broke down. And I should have felt fear because here was a kid that I was now suddenly responsible for, and I was not mentally prepared to take on this responsibility. But I did not feel all those things. I just felt bad for him. He had been abandoned by the two people who were supposed to love him the most. I asked him what his name was, and he said it was Noah. I think I did not have a lot of time to grieve because I knew that I had to do something about him. Putting him up for adoption was not an option because I know how the adoption system works and it would have just ruined his life. I could try and reach out to his family, but I didn't even know who they were. Or I could adopt him. I decided that I would try and look for his family, and until the time I don't find them, I'll take care of him. The next few days went in a blur. Both he and I were getting used to this new reality. But the best thing about this was that he was a very easy kid in the sense that he was very friendly and wasn't suspicious of me and didn't rebel or ignore me either. I think I was the one who was more suspicious of him even though it wasn't his fault. He was the one who was caught in the crossfire for no fault of his, quite like me, and maybe that was also why I couldn't bring myself to hate him or be angry at him. 2 weeks after the revelation, I got divorce papers in the mail. They were signed by Wes. I didn't waste any time, contacted my lawyer, and got done with it because I had much more important things to take care of. For the next 6 months, I tried everything to get hold of Noah's family. I even tried reaching out to Wes and made my lawyer do it too, but I just couldn't find any trace of them. I tried asking around in Wes's office, but they had no idea whatsoever. And in all this time, I slowly but surely got attached to Noah. He became the light of my life. I had never felt happier than I did when I was with him. I just loved the little guy so much, and it felt as though he really was my son. He even called me Mama, and I didn't stop him. I was there for him when he had his nightmares. I taught him how to tie his shoelaces. I put up his drawings on my fridge. We were a little family, and it took me some time to realize that we were a family. When, after 6 to 7 months, I could not get hold of any biological relative of his, I decided to legally adopt him. I had thought that it would have been a problem, but thankfully my lawyer was great, and the paperwork happened seamlessly. I had Wes's texts and note with me, and I was honest about the entire situation. They said that since this was a case of abandonment of the child, the adoption would pass through easily, and it did. I became his mother officially, even though I think I had become his mother the first time I saw him. I knew that I didn't have it in me to abandon the child and leave him to fend for himself. That was just not me, and since then it has been the two of us. He is 6 years old now and goes to school. He has made a few friends, which I was sure he would, especially since he is such a social and funny little guy. I've been doing pretty well for myself, so the finances are no issue at all. My parents are a little miffed with me for taking in my ex's affair child, but they don't say much because they know I'm really attached to Noah. Life was going well, and I had adjusted to the new reality and was even enjoying it when everything came crashing down last week. I had a visitor. It was Wes. When I opened the door, I couldn't believe my eyes. I should have slammed the door in his face right then, but I was too startled to give a reaction. The only thing I'm thankful about is that Noah was in school at that point in time, or else it would have gotten really messy. Wes said that he wanted to talk to me and just pushed the door open and made himself welcome. It took me a solid minute to gather my thoughts, and I asked him to leave my house or I would press charges. He said that I didn't need to overreact so much and that he was just here to see his son and take him back. I looked at him as if he were nuts. I told him that he did not have a son and that he had relinquished all rights to the kid when he and his mistress abandoned him at my doorstep. He asked me where Noah was, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to give out any information to him, and I was feeling scared, to be honest. I didn't answer any questions at all because I didn't want him to know that I still had Noah and had legally adopted him. He said that he had given me his son to take care of, not to put into the system. That was when I realized that he thought I had probably handed over Noah to the authorities. I allowed him to think that way and didn't correct him because honestly, why should I? The less he knows, the better it is for me. I told him that I had no idea what he was talking about and that if he ever tried to get in touch with me again, I would go ahead and press charges. He left without a fuss, but I know this is not over, and now I have to pick Noah up from school, and I am worried that he is going to follow me and find out. I am too scared, and I cannot lose my son. Update 1. This is a small update, guys. My hunch was right. He was waiting around the corner for me to leave so that he could follow me. I called up one of my colleagues from work and asked her if she could pick Noah up from school. Her daughter is in the same class as him. She said okay and asked me if there was something wrong. I told her that I would give her the details later. I just don't want him following me around or finding out where Noah studies. I don't trust this man at all. She picked Noah up and he was with her for a while, and I'm gonna go pick him up from her place now. I can't see Wes's car, so I think he has left. I just hope he doesn't come back. But I know deep down that this isn't over. I just hope I can save my kid and myself from his entitled ass because I cannot afford to lose Noah. He is everything to me. Update 2. I am sorry for the delay in the update, but a lot has been happening, and I wasn't in the right state of mind. The day Wes came home, I was genuinely very scared. I got Noah home at night and told him that he had to be very careful and not talk to any strangers at all. He got a little frightened, but we got through it. I also spoke to my lawyer and asked him if Wes had any legal standing with regard to Noah, and he said that Wes could legally not take him away from me, but if he was showing dangerous behavior, I could get a restraining order against him. I don't have much against him right now, so I have to wait this out. A week after that, on a Sunday to be exact, Wes came home again. I tried to keep him out with all my might, but he barged in and made his way through and started calling for Noah. God bless my sweet, smart child. He just did not come out of his room. Wes then broke down crying and said that he wanted to meet his son just once and that he would leave me alone. I told him that he was not his son anymore and he had no choice but to leave me alone because if he didn't leave the premises, I would call the police. That made him panic a little, and he begged me to just hear him out. He tried really hard to turn his infidelity and the subsequent karma that he got for it into a heart-wrenching sob story, but I was having none of it. I had no love for this man anymore, and nothing that he would say could make me feel sorry for him. He said that because of our fertility struggles, he started an affair with a woman, and when she got pregnant with his kid, he felt that it was something that was just meant to be. But because he loved me a lot, he could not leave me for her despite knowing that I couldn't give him the family that he wanted. And then during COVID, when he left, it was because his affair partner was pregnant again. She said that she did not want 2 kids. And according to Wes, the best course of action was to have 1 kid with each woman that he loved. I looked at him in disbelief because I had never heard anything as idiotic as this before. I told him to eat and that I wasn't buying anything that he was saying, but he begged me to listen further. He had another son with that woman and married her too, but soon after they met with an accident. It was his fault. He was driving drunk and he had his son with him, and the son met with a major accident because of his reckless behavior. Wes faced injuries too, and now he can never have children of his own again. The affair partner, then wife, was furious with him, naturally so, and I don't blame her one bit for this, and she left him. The kid is fine now, but she has full custody of him, and he has no visitation, and he won't ever be able to change that because he was the one who endangered the life of the kid. So now all his dreams of having a big family have come crashing down, and the only way that he can have a child and experience true fatherhood, and by that he means biological fatherhood, is if I allow him and Noah his life. He thought that this little story of his would move me to tears and I would go running to wipe his tears and be his shoulder to cry on. I told him to get lost because he got this upon himself. I told him that he needed psychological help because clearly he isn't cut out to be a father, and I said God did a favor to humanity by making him infertile. I told him that he had 2 existing children and he had failed both of them. One he abandoned because he couldn't handle or manage 2 children, and the other one he almost killed because he had no control or sense of responsibility. I told him that he did not gift me Noah because he felt bad for me because that was an explanation, and even he knew it. He abandoned Noah because the reality of raising 2 young children was giving him cold feet. I told him that both he and his now ex-wife suck because they left a 2-year-old to fend for himself, and God had a special place reserved in hell for him. He was crying by the end and said that he deserved every single insult that I was hurling at him and that he would do anything to prove himself to me, but he just wanted another chance with his son. I told him that he was delusional if he thought I was going to let him come anywhere near me or my son again, and that the only suitable place for him at this point was a mental asylum. I had to literally shove him out of my house, but I am glad he is gone. Right after he left, I went to check on Noah. He was scared, but I sat with him, and now he's feeling better. I have spoken to my lawyer, and he says that now I have enough testimony to get an actual restraining order against Wes, and that is what I will be doing. He is deranged, and I am not going to endanger my family because a grown man can't deal with the consequences of his own actions. Hopefully, I will not have a reason to update anymore. Please pray for the safety of my family. Now on to the next story. Story 4. I raised my sister after our parents abandoned us, but she still chose them over me and didn't invite me to her wedding. Her fiancé found out and canceled everything. I, 32F, was not invited to my sister's wedding, which took place 3 days ago, and it was really disheartening because I think that I was the one who had pretty much raised my sister ever since we were really young. She is around 8 years younger than me, and we basically grew up without our parents. When I was 10 years old, my parents just randomly woke up one day and decided that they were sick of being our parents. It was not very surprising since even when I was really young, it was very apparent to me that they treated me very differently than other parents treated their kids. They always maintained a distance from me and my sister, as they were not really interested in building a relationship with us. I tried really hard for a very long time to get close to them, but it never really worked and they were always too busy for us. We had sitters to take care of us and at other times our grandparents. My sister was just 2 years old when our parents decided that we would be better off living with our grandparents, my dad's parents, on a more permanent basis. This decision was influenced by the start of a business together, but for that, it would require them to move away. Both my parents had been working at the time, but I guess the idea of being partners in a business really appealed to them, so they decided to take his coworker up on that offer, and it worked out for them since they are doing pretty well right now and have been for the past many years. But while it was all great for them on the financial and work front, they gave up their family for this. My dad could have easily chosen to take his daughters with him, but he decided to leave us behind with our grandparents, and it was just he and my mother who moved away to help set up the business. I was used to my parents ignoring me, but for them to completely abandon me and my sister and leave us with our aging grandparents was just something that nobody had seen, not even my grandparents. They were not happy about this arrangement, and they tried really hard to fight with my dad and get him to take us with them, but he insisted that he wouldn't be able to take out the time for us, and we would just be another burden on him, which he couldn't afford because he and my mother needed to channel all their energy into the new business. My grandparents never told me about any of this and tried to put on a happy face, but they forgot that I had ears, and when they were fighting, they never really bothered to keep things quiet. So, at a very young age, I knew what their priorities were, and at the age of 10, I decided that I was never going to count on them for anything in my entire life. After they left, it's not like they were out of my life for good, but they would still come back during the holidays. The only difference was that after they left me with my grandparents, I decided not to have any expectations from them, and whenever they would visit, I would also maintain my distance from them. So I think it's very obvious that I had a very strained relationship with my parents. My sister was very young at the time, so I tried to be there for her to the best of my abilities. Understanding why our parents were not always there for her like other parents was difficult, so I would just always dodge those questions. But as she grew older, it became more and more difficult for me to avoid those questions, and even my grandparents started finding it hard not to answer. Eventually, when she was around 14, we told her the truth, and after that, she started behaving in a very confused way with our parents whenever they would visit. By then, their business had started doing well and they could have easily moved back, but they chose to stay away because they had already built a life for themselves there, and we were already pretty grown, so they didn't see the point of coming back and believed that we would be able to handle our lives on our own. Now, after my sister found out about everything, she would try to act aloof when our parents would visit, but occasionally she would slip right into her old behavior around them. I didn't even blame her. It must have been confusing for her as a kid. Anyway, just like my parents, I had also built a life away from them, and gradually I made my peace with their absence. I graduated high school, I graduated college, and I got my first job, all without them. Unfortunately, I lost my grandpa when I was 22 and my grandma when I was 26. The only thing that I'm thankful for is that they were at least here to witness me graduate high school and get my first job, and by the time I lost both of them, I was doing reasonably well enough in life. Even my sister was 18 and an adult when our grandma passed away, and our maternal grandparents had passed away very long ago when I was in my early teens. So we were completely on our own after that. But I would honestly say that I had been raising my sister way before our grandparents passed away, and even though it was my parents who would always send money back home for us, I was the one who was actually raising her because, let's be real, our grandparents were pretty old, and half of the time they didn't even know what was going on in our lives. They were just doing the best that they could. But I was the one who was actually there for my sister. So the fact that she eventually picked our parents over me was all the more embarrassing and hurtful for me. My sister is 24 right now, and she got engaged a couple of months ago after dating her boyfriend for the past 3 years. I had always been very supportive of the relationship right from the beginning, and in fact, I think I was the one who had actually encouraged her to pursue him after her last breakup. Her ex had broken her heart, and she was afraid of saying yes to her fiancé when he asked her out, but I had pushed her to give it a try, and here is where they ended up. But I guess that was not enough to warrant an invitation to her wedding, and in fact, she even told me a couple of weeks back that I shouldn't be expecting an invitation since she didn't really want me at her wedding. And the reason that she told me she did not want me at her wedding was something that I wouldn't have been able to imagine even in my wildest dreams. It was because she was basically picking our parents over me, like I already said. So, for context, our parents have moved back here, and this happened just 6 months ago. They think the business can run on its own now, and their constant monitoring is no longer required, so they have moved back, but I really think they moved back because they were bored of their lives there, and the first thing that they did was try and rebuild a connection with us. Obviously, I did not encourage that at all, and I would try to spend as little time as I could with them. I treated them the same way that they had been treating me for the past 3 decades. I would act distant, and I would always tell them that I was busy whenever they would try to make plans with me. Eventually, they took the hint and stopped trying to bother me. But that's not what happened with my sister. Since she and I have been living separately ever since she graduated college, she had a very different attitude towards our parents and decided to welcome them into her life. Both her fiancé and I were kind of iffy about this idea because parents suck at being parents, and let's not forget that they had been absent from our lives since forever. Now it felt a little weird that she was allowing them to just waltz back in like nothing had ever happened, but she believed that everyone deserved a second chance, and since she was about to get married, she was not about to act all vengeful and let that chance slip by. I found it a little weird, but it was her call to make, so I didn't question her about it much. I'll admit I did feel a little betrayed that she was welcoming them back into her life so openly, but I tried not to let it bother me too much because I really didn't think that it would take away from my importance in her life. However, that's exactly what happened. She started spending a lot of time with our parents, and of late, it felt like she had started avoiding me on purpose because she had started acting like she was too busy, and every time I would ask to meet her, she would tell me that she was too busy preparing for the wedding. Even then, I tried not to doubt her too much because to me, even the idea of her choosing our parents over me was just absurd. But I could no longer stay in denial when a few weeks back she came over to my place, and after some small talk she told me that the invitations were going to be sent out in a couple of days, and she told me not to expect one. I was obviously shocked, and I thought it was a joke until she told me that she was serious and that the reason she didn't want me at the wedding was because with my parents and everything, it would just be too awkward. Apparently, she was embarrassed of the fact that I was the one who had basically raised her, and even though our family knew about it, her fiancé's extended family didn't really know about the entire situation with us and our parents, and she wanted to keep it private, but she believed that it would not be possible with me at the wedding. So she told me that she would definitely have another ceremony with just our family and friends, but this one she wanted me to sit out. I honestly didn't understand the logic behind any of this, and I told her that if she had an issue talking about her life with her fiancé's family, then I would just keep my mouth shut about it. And to be honest, it wasn't as if his extended family wasn't going to find out eventually because they had been dating for a pretty long time, and his parents and close family members already knew. But she started getting agitated when I started coming up with solutions and told me that she just didn't want me at the wedding because she was embarrassed that more than her own mother, I had been like her mom, and she couldn't have 2 moms at the wedding because that would raise a lot of questions. Even then, I had struggled a lot to make sense of what she was saying, and even now I don't fully understand what she was getting at. But basically, she was just saying that she would rather have her own parents present at the wedding to avoid any complications, emotional or otherwise. She believed that me being present at the wedding would lead to a lot of embarrassment and drama for her since our parents would also be there, and she didn't think that we could get through the event together. But instead of not inviting our parents, she had decided to disinvite me instead. And I know that I should have probably freaked out at her, yelled at her, and just kicked her out of my house. But I was so heartbroken that all I could do was just tell her that it was fine and smile at her through my tears. She seemed happy that I was being understanding and told me that she would definitely have a private ceremony later on. And then she left. It was quite insensitive of her to not even understand that I was really upset, and I decided not to speak to her after that. It was very difficult for me to come to that decision, but there was nothing else left for me to do, and I muted her everywhere so that I wouldn't even have to speak to her even if she contacted me. I also muted her fiancé because I assumed that he would also be in on this and had agreed to it. So for the past couple of weeks, I have had no contact with her or her fiancé, and I was quite taken aback when I received a phone call from her on the day of her wedding, and she was crying on the other end, telling me to come save her. In spite of having no contact with her for the past couple of weeks, I was actually quite concerned, and I immediately called her fiancé up, but he did not respond. I wanted to go to her, but before that, I wanted to make sure that I was actually needed because even though I was still concerned, things had changed between us. So I decided to call her bridesmaids, and thankfully, her maid of honor picked up the call and explained everything to me. Apparently, her fiancé had no idea that she had told me not to attend the wedding, and he didn't find out until the day before the wedding. In fact, nobody else knew that I was not invited, and everyone had kept asking about my absence from the pre-wedding events. But she had just said that I was not feeling well enough to attend and that I would be there on the day of. But when her fiancé found out the truth, he flipped out at her, and she told him that the reason she had chosen not to invite me was because her parents wouldn't be fine with it, and since they had decided to finance the wedding, she couldn't afford to go against them, and she had to invite me to the wedding even though it had broken her heart as well. She had told him that not only were they funding the wedding, but they were also funding the honeymoon and were willing to give her money to cover all the expenses that she wanted them to cover for the rest of her life since she had decided to give them an opportunity to be involved in her life and I hadn't. Essentially, she had been bought out by my parents, and she thought it was a reasonable explanation for her behavior. But I don't think her fiancé was pleased with that. The way her maid of honor and literally every other guest at their wedding was able to find out what was going on was because her fiancé decided to make a speech and expose what she had done before canceling the wedding and walking out of the wedding. He told everyone about how she had become a sellout because her parents had suddenly shown up after not caring about her their entire lives, and now they had just waved a wad of cash in front of her face, and she had forgotten everything that I had done for her. And since she had found it so easy to do it to her own sister, he didn't think that she would find it difficult to do it to him as well at some point, and that's why he no longer thought it was a good idea for them to get married. Having said that, he walked away from the altar, and my sister was unable to do anything. After he walked away, she pretty much had a mental breakdown and started sobbing like crazy. It was even more humiliating because before that, she had been showing off our parents the entire time. At every pre-wedding event, she had been talking them up and presenting them to be the best parents in the world who had always been there for her. Her friends and family were all obviously very shocked but said nothing, but eventually the truth came out, and now everyone knows everything. About half an hour after he had left and refused to come back even after his parents had requested him to, my sister had decided to call me up because our parents couldn't stand being put in an awkward position and had left as well. She had told me to come save her because she kept rambling about how I was the only one who could put this right and believed that she had learned her lesson. But now she just wanted me back as well as her fiancé. After her maid of honor told me everything, she told me that she was not comfortable with this situation either, and she really wanted to be there for her best friend, but after knowing what had happened between the two of us, she thought it should be entirely my call whether I want to show up for her or not, and even told me that nobody would judge me if I didn't. I gave it some thought, but eventually I decided that I wasn't going to show up. She screwed up. As much as I hate to admit it, she's an adult, and she knew what she was doing, so it was pretty silly to even expect me to come to rescue her and make everything right for her. I can't spend my entire life cleaning up her messes, especially not when she doesn't even value it. And as for what her fiancé had done, I'm nobody to judge whether it was right or wrong, but I was happy that he had taken a stand for me and respected everything that I had done for my sister, even though she couldn't see it herself. I thought that she needed that wake-up call desperately, and when our parents chose to leave quietly without even trying to comfort her, I guess she understood that she had never been a priority for them and they were only trying to sneak back into our lives because that was socially acceptable, and since she was getting married she was a potential source of grandkids as well. It's not like they actually cared about us. They only cared about their image and reputation. So, keeping all these things in mind, I decided to let her deal with this on her own that day, and that was 3 days back. After that phone call, she did not try to contact me again until this morning. Even though I had muted her earlier, I had decided to unmute her after that phone call just for my own peace of mind. So this morning, around 6 a.m., which is pretty early, she sent me a message saying that she was really sorry for everything that had happened and she knew that she could apologize for the rest of her life and still not be able to make up for it, but she just wanted to let me know that she really regretted whatever she did and she meant it. She also told me that she had been trying to get through to her fiancé for the past 3 days, but he hasn't been speaking to her ever since the wedding got canceled. He's even written a check to our parents to compensate for his half of the wedding expenses, and she can't even text him under the pretext anymore. I felt really bad for her, and I even ended up crying a little because I knew how much she loved him and how serious she was about him. I also felt terrible about the fact that we would probably never be able to go back to being the same way ever again, especially after what had just happened. Anyway, she ended the message by telling me that regardless of what happened with her fiancé, she still wanted to make things right with me, and she just needed one chance. She asked me to meet her at a restaurant near my house this weekend just so we could talk and at least try to clear the air because she really felt like meeting in person was going to do us both a lot of good, and she didn't want to give up on us. But truth be told, I'm not sure if I want to meet her right now. I'm not even sure if I'm ready for it or if I even want to give her a second chance right now because everything is a mess in my head. Things that I had never expected to happen have happened, and I know she's going through something, but so am I. So I feel like I need some time. At the same time, I also feel like she has been punished enough, and she needs somebody to be there for her, but I'm just not sure if that somebody should be me. I'm just really confused. So I'm here to ask for advice and opinions. So, ITA for not wanting to go meet my sister and clear the air with her after her fiancé walked out of their wedding for not inviting me? Edit. Guys, I don't even know why I'm having to add an edit to clarify this, but my sister's fiancé is 6 years younger than me, and I've always considered him more of a brother. Yes, we have been close friends ever since he started dating my sister, but that's bound to happen because all 3 of us used to spend a lot of time together. But that doesn't mean that he's in love with me, and that's why he took a stand for me. It just means that he's a decent person, and he knew that what my sister was doing was quite screwed up, so he decided to take a stand for what he believed was right. For everyone who is implying that he might have had feelings for me and that's why he acted out like this, I hate to burst your bubble, but you guys are wrong. We're not living in a Wattpad romance novel, thankfully, and here in the real world, sometimes people just stand up for other people because it's the right thing to do and not because they have feelings for the other person. I'm sorry if I'm coming off as offended, but that's because I kind of am since the implications are just weird and silly. Anyway, the bottom line is that her fiancé and I had always had a very sibling kind of relationship, and that was how it should have been. Also, some of you wanted to know how my sister and her fiancé had been doing financially and who was originally supposed to finance the wedding. So, both my sister and her fiancé have marketing jobs and make a decent amount of money. They were initially going to split the cost of the wedding 60/40 since her fiancé is an only child and his parents had a wedding fund set aside for him, whereas my sister only has me and they wanted to make it easier for us, which I really appreciate. But then my parents swooped in and wrote my sister a check, and she fell for it, which eventually ruined everything for her and for us, if I'm being honest. Anyway, that's done now, and all we can do is try to move forward. Update 1. Thank you so much to everyone who commented on my post and gave me advice, and also a huge shout out and thanks to everyone who reached out to me to tell me that things are going to be fine. It really means a lot to me because life has been pretty tough so far, and sometimes it feels like a bit too much, but I know that I'm strong enough to handle it. So thank you for letting me vent and reminding me that I can do it. Anyway, getting to the point of this post, I decided to speak to my sister and rip off the band-aid. It wasn't easy, but I had to let her know that right now, I just didn't feel like speaking to her and making things right again because it was just a lot of emotional stuff to deal with, and I wasn't in the right headspace for something like that. We were speaking on the phone, so I told her that I just wanted time away from her to sort out my feelings because she had really hurt me, and I didn't know if I was ready to see her and talk to her so soon. Even when speaking to her on the phone, I felt like I was going to cry, and on the other end, she sounded the same way, but eventually she told me that she understood where I was coming from and that she respected my feelings. She told me that she would be waiting for me to come around, and even if I didn't, she would still be fine with that because she knew that she had screwed up majorly, and it was a big, big deal that I was speaking to her after what had happened. So we ended our phone call on that note, and now I'm just going to try and process everything that has happened and cope with it. But eventually, I really do want to get back to my sister because at the end of the day, we are all that we have, and I know that people screw up, but I don't want to let her go. I know this might not sit well with a lot of people, but it is what it is, and we have been each other's family for the longest time. I think I can forgive her once, but that's for the future me to think about. Right now, I just want to not think about these things. Update 2. Hi. So it's been a couple of months since my sister's wedding got called off, and we haven't exactly been in touch, but she has kept me updated on her life. Sometimes I reply to her, but I try to keep it as brief and impersonal as possible, and other times, if I'm not exactly feeling up to it, I just don't respond. She told me that she had cut her parents off and returned the money that she had taken from them a few days after the wedding got called off. And since then, they have tried to contact her several times, but she has rejected all their attempts so far. Neither she nor I had heard anything from her fiancé, but last evening she told me that her fiancé had finally called her back to apologize for what had happened at the wedding. Apparently, he had said that he had just been very upset about the fact that her parents had managed to turn her against me with the promise of money in the future, and it made him think that she was a sellout. But he believed that he could have dealt with the situation better as well, and humiliating her in front of all those people had just not been necessary. He told her that he was just really mad at her, and he hated the fact that she hadn't even decided that it was important to speak to him regarding these things before making a decision, so it had made him feel unimportant. And of course, he was really upset about how she had treated me as well since he genuinely respected me. All those factors combined, he just couldn't take it and ended up making that speech at the wedding and ruining everything. After that apology, my sister also apologized to him and acknowledged the fact that she had her fault as well, and she didn't exactly blame him entirely for what had happened. So they decided to meet each other and get some closure at the very least. I didn't know what to say, so I just told her that I wish her the best when she goes to talk to him, and I mean it. I really do wish her the best. I really like the two of them together, and they should have ended up with each other, but things went south in the most unexpected way. Update 3. Hi. So it's been almost 10 months since I first posted here, and a lot of things have changed since my last update. For starters, my parents have moved back because I guess they realized that neither of their daughters needs them here anymore. My sister has started individual therapy, and she and her fiancé also decided to patch things up. This happened just 2 months back since they had decided to be friends but realized that it was never going to work because they were still head over heels in love with each other regardless of whatever had happened at the wedding. But they still decided to get couples counseling together because obviously whatever happened at the wedding was not something that they could just erase, so they had to acknowledge it and walk through it, and I really hope that it works out for them because from whatever I've seen, they definitely do belong together. As for me and my sister, we are trying to repair our relationship as well. I finally met her in person a week ago, and before that, I was only trying to talk to her on calls and text, but I was still not ready to see her until last week. And when we finally met in person, it was like the floodgates had finally been opened, and we ended up crying for a good 15 minutes together before we were able to get any words out. She couldn't stop apologizing profusely, and I had to reassure her that regardless of what had happened, I was willing to give her a real chance to fix things, and we would be able to move past it if we wanted to. After all, families have gone through much worse and stuck together, so if she's really sorry about everything, I don't see a reason why we can't make it work, and I'm sure that with time, these wounds will heal as well. Anyway, I'm still hopeful for the future, and I know that things will go well. Now on to the next story. Story 5. My brother told my son we're not real family, so I uninvited him for my wedding, and now my parents are refusing to come. I'm a 32-year-old man, and I'm getting married to my longtime girlfriend soon. What should be one of the happiest moments of my life has turned into a heartbreaking ordeal because of a deepening rift in my family. To give you some background, I'm my parents' biological son. When I was 12, they adopted 2 boys who were biological siblings. Jack, who was 8, and Liam, who was 5. From the very beginning, it was clear that things were going to be tough. Jack came with severe behavioral issues due to some intense trauma. I'll spare the details, but it was significant. I tried my hardest to be understanding, but living with him was nothing short of exhausting. His outbursts were constant, and I often felt like I was walking on eggshells, terrified of setting him off. As we grew older, I continued to try to be there for Jack despite everything. A few years ago, Jack fell into a devastating drug addiction. I stood by him through his darkest moments, supporting him through rehab and doing everything I could to help him get back on his feet. It was draining and heartbreaking, but I did it because I loved him and believed that, despite our challenges, we were still brothers. Liam, on the other hand, was always easier to get along with, and I formed a closer bond with him. But even so, I always felt like an outsider. Jack and Liam's bond as biological siblings was undeniable, and I never quite felt like I was truly a part of it. It was like I was always on the edge, looking in, trying to be included but never fully accepted. The situation came to a head recently at a Sunday dinner at my parents' house. My son was working on his summer homework, which involved creating a family tree. He innocently asked Jack if he wanted to be included, and Jack just flat out said no. He didn't want to be part of it because, in his exact words, "We're not real brothers." He said it so casually, like it was the most obvious thing in the world, with no regard for how much it would cut me to the core. I was utterly stunned, but what shattered me even more was that Liam, who I've always felt closer to, just sat there in silence. He didn't say a word. He didn't defend me or even acknowledge how hurtful Jack's words were. He just let it happen. I've tried so hard to be supportive of both of them, especially Jack, despite the endless challenges. So for Jack to say that and for Liam to do nothing felt like a gut punch. It was as if they were both telling me in no uncertain terms that I was never truly part of their family. In my pain and frustration, I decided to uninvite both Jack and Liam from my wedding. My fiancé has been nothing but supportive of my decision, but my parents are furious. They've made it clear that if Jack and Liam aren't invited, they won't attend either. It feels like history is repeating itself, with my parents once again prioritizing Jack over me, no matter how much it hurts me. I'm absolutely heartbroken that my parents would choose to miss my wedding rather than support me in this. I know Jack has been through a lot, but I've done everything I can to be there for him and for Liam despite all the heartache. And now I feel like I'm the one being punished for finally standing up for myself and setting some boundaries. Am I the asshole for uninviting my brothers after they said they don't see me as family, even if it means my parents won't come to my wedding? Comments. Comment 1, NTA. Liam and Jack have been in your family for 20 years. If you all aren't family by now, what the fuck are you? I have a major issue with your parents. They're definitely the assholes in all of this. The minute Jack said that to your son, they should have spoken up and defended you. The fact that they let him get away with it and now are saying they won't attend your wedding is insane. I would tell them not to bother coming to your wedding and that you hope they'll be happy with their 2 sons. Then I would take my son and go full and see with them. OP. Honestly, I've considered going and see with them in the past, but I've never had the guts to genuinely do it. I think my life would have been better off if I did it long ago. Comment 2. It's kind of a guilt complex thing for adoptive parents. You hear so many horrible stories about biological kids being prioritized over adopted kids, and that results in an overcompensation. Like, you have your biological parents, you should be grateful. He had it so much worse, so we got to make it up to him, even though they didn't cause this. So much for the key is to treat your kids equal. If one accomplishes something, he gets a compliment. If he misbehaves, he gets consequences. Despite all the favoring, he still got drug addicted. So their game plan failed. OP. I don't blame them or him for his drug addiction. Jack and Liam had truly horrible things happen to them both as children, stuff I won't get into here, but you can understand it was the type of stuff that leaves lifelong scars on you, even with the buttload of therapy they've gone through. One time, Jack spoke to me about how when he's high on drugs, it's the only time in his entire life where he doesn't constantly remember, and only time he ever feels at peace. Obviously, I shouldn't be the one who is constantly picking up the pieces of him, but I can 100% understand why he got into drugs. He's still an asshole, though. Comment 3. Also, OP didn't say anything about Liam being part of the family either, And maybe Liam doesn't even know where he stands with OP. I think this is worth OP having a one-on-one convo with Liam. OP. I've always been closer to Liam than Jack. To be clear, I always considered them both my brothers. I considered Jack a pain in the ass but still didn't think anything less than brother of him. Otherwise, I wouldn't have kept supporting him. OP on why his son was asking the brothers about the family tree. Because he's 5 and just wanted to show off what he was doing. I have never said anything to plant an idea that they aren't my brothers. He doesn't even know they're adopted, not because it's something we hide, just hasn't ever been something we really discuss as a family. Adding uncle/aunties to the family tree was an optional extension, and he said it in a way of come and help me add you. And if you want to be, not you don't deserve to be in the tree. You're honestly grasping at straws here. I have no issue with someone labeling me T, but don't just make up context to decide. Update 1. August 18th, 2024. I'm honestly still reeling from everything that's gone down since my last post. First off, thank you to everyone who took the time to comment. I've read through all your advice and it's been a lifeline. But buckle up because things have taken a wild turn. After hearing from so many of you, I decided I needed to talk to Liam. We met up at a pub, and I just laid it all out there. How hurt I was when he didn't say anything after Jack made that awful comment about not being real brothers. I was half expecting him to defend himself, but what I got was something entirely different. Liam confessed that he's been living in fear of Jack for years. He told me he kept quiet that night because he was terrified of setting Jack off, not because he agreed with him. Then he dropped a bombshell. Despite being Jack's biological brother, he's felt just as much of an outsider in our family as I have. The constant pressure from our parents to cater to Jack's every whim has worn him down too. Liam assured me that he's always seen me as his brother, and that he regrets not standing up for me sooner. Hearing that was a huge relief. He's completely on my side now, and we agreed that if Jack can't respect me as a brother, he has no place at my wedding or in our lives. But just when I thought things couldn't get more intense, my parents decided to make everything worse. I sat them down and explained why I uninvited Jack, hoping they'd understand. Instead, they threw down an ultimatum. If Jack isn't invited, they're not coming to my wedding. No room for discussion, no empathy, just flat-out refusal. I was gutted. After all these years of putting Jack's needs above mine, this is how they repay me? Couldn't hold back anymore. I let out all the anger and frustration I've been bottling up for years. I told them how I've always been the one sacrificing, how they've always prioritized Jack, and that I was done being treated like I don't matter. I made it clear that if they choose not to come to my wedding, they're making their choice and I'll make mine. With that, I walked out, leaving them to stew in their own decisions. Out of nowhere, Jack started bombarding me with the nastiest, most hurtful texts I've ever received. He accused me of turning Liam against him, of ripping the family apart, and had the audacity to call me selfish for abandoning him. He ranted about how he never felt like he belonged in the family and how it's all my fault for pushing him away. His words hit hard, but they also opened my eyes. Jack has spent his whole life blaming everyone else for his problems, and I've been his favorite scapegoat. This time, though, I'm not letting him guilt-trip me. I didn't even respond. I just blocked his number. If he can't see what he's done wrong, then there's nothing more to say. Liam was livid when I told him about Jack's messages. He's more determined than ever to support me, and we've decided to go low contact with our parents until after the wedding. Liam's been a rock through all this, helping me with the wedding plans and making sure I'm not dealing with this mess alone. So the wedding is still happening, but with a much smaller guest list. My parents haven't reached out since our argument, and at this point, I don't care if they show up or not. This day is about me and my fiancé, and I'm not letting anyone, not even my own family, ruin it. Thank you again for all your support and advice. I'll keep you posted if anything else happens, though I'm really hoping my next update is just about how amazing the wedding was. Fingers crossed. Comments. Comment 1. Make sure you have security to keep Jack from crashing the wedding. Comment 2. Well, you may look back in years to come and reflect that your parents' reaction should not have come as a surprise. That doesn't mean it won't hurt now and that it won't hurt in the future. Fair dues to Liam though. And congratulations on having at least one family member who loves you. Update 2. August 25th, 2024. Hey everyone. I wanted to give an update after everything that's happened over the last week. A lot has changed, and I'm grateful to say that things are moving in a much better direction. 2 days after the text argument with Jack, he reached out to me. I wasn't sure what to expect when he asked if we could meet up, and I was reluctant, but I agreed. When we sat down, the first thing he did was apologize. He told me how sorry he was for what he said to my son and admitted that he didn't know why he said it. Jack seemed genuinely remorseful, and I could tell that he really meant it. This wasn't just another apology to smooth things over. This was different, and it felt sincere. After apologizing, Jack took a deep breath and confessed something that I probably should have seen coming. He told me that he had relapsed before the argument even happened. Hearing that hit me hard. It explained so much about his behavior in the weeks leading up to that moment. The irritability, the distance, the way he was withdrawing from everyone. I realized that I had missed all the signs. I'm not proud to admit it, but I was so caught up in my frustrations with Jack's behaviors and my wedding that I didn't stop to think that something deeper might be going on. Jack's confession wasn't just about the relapse. It was about taking responsibility in a way he's never done before. He went on to tell me that after realizing the damage he'd caused, he had made the decision to check himself into treatment. This might sound like a typical step, but for Jack it was monumental. In the past, Jack's only gone into treatment because he was either sectioned by social services and forced into it, or because my parents threatened to kick him out if he didn't get help. But this time, he made the decision on his own. That was something he'd never done before, and it showed me that he was serious about wanting to change. He told me that he is doing this because the prospect of losing me, his brother, was too much and he couldn't handle it. He wants to take this seriously because he wants to show me he can do it. He told me he sees me as his family and he feels so guilty for making me feel like I wasn't his family. Jack has also agreed to start taking medication to help calm his nerves, something he would never do before. It's now been about 5 or 6 days since Jack checked himself in for treatment, and I've been visiting him regularly. At first, I went alone because I wasn't sure how my son would feel about seeing Jack so soon after everything that happened. But after a few visits, I felt it was important for my son to see that Jack was making an effort to make things right. So I brought him along, and Jack took the opportunity to apologize to him directly. It was a really emotional moment for me as a parent. My son is still young and doesn't fully understand everything that's been going on, but he could see that Jack was sorry, and it seemed to make a difference to him. They even spent some time together just talking and playing, and it felt like a big step forward for all of us. Throughout all of this, my brother Liam has been incredibly supportive. We've talked a lot about Jack, and it's clear that Liam wants to see him succeed just as much as I do. We both know how much Jack's trauma has affected him, and while it doesn't excuse his behavior, it does help us understand why he struggled so much. Having Liam by my side through all of this has made me feel a lot less alone. Reflecting on everything, I've come to realize that I need to take responsibility for my part in how things escalated. In the weeks leading up to the argument, Jack had been doing things that really got under my skin. Instead of addressing it calmly, I let my frustration build until I finally snapped. Looking back, I can see that his behaviors were likely tied to his relapse, and I should have seen that sooner. I feel guilty for not recognizing the signs and for reacting the way I did, but I'm trying to focus on what I can do to support Jack now that he's taking his recovery seriously. When I wrote my first 2 posts, I was in a place of deep frustration with Jack, and though nothing I said was incorrect or a lie, I definitely painted a picture of Jack's most negative moments without everything else. I want to remind everyone about Jack's trauma. Jack was a victim of severe abuse by his biological family, including extensive CSA, child sexual abuse. Liam also, but Jack's was a lot more intense. Jack jokes now that he was their biological father's favorite in all the wrong ways. Jack got into drugs at a pretty young age but has been clean, or so I thought, for a while. I mentioned this before, but Jack has told me in the past that even now, almost 20 years after he was adopted by our parents, there is not a day where he doesn't think/have nightmares about his abuse. He says the only moments of peace he gets is when he's high. Jack's trauma runs deep, and it's something that continues to affect him every day. I'm not making excuses for his actions, but I do think it's important to remember that he's dealing with a lot of pain. Despite everything, I still believe in Jack. I believe that he has the strength to overcome his past, and with Liam and me by his side, I'm hopeful that he can get through this. I also want to take a moment to thank everyone who offered advice and support on my last post. Your words helped me see things from a different perspective and gave me the push I needed to approach this situation with more compassion. There's still a long road ahead, but I'm optimistic that we're on the right path now. For now, things are looking up. Jack is taking his treatment seriously, and our family is slowly healing. We're taking things one day at a time, and I'm committed to supporting Jack as long as he's committed to helping himself. Thank you all again for your support. Your advice has been invaluable during this difficult time. Now on to the next story. Story 6. On Thanksgiving, they voted me out of the family. I responded with a folder detailing over $78,000 in support and years of being used. Everyone cheered. I laughed gently and replied, "Then I guess you won't need this." I put a folder on the table. The moment she opened it, she screamed. "Before we carve the turkey," Natalie remarked, rising from her chair with a smug, contrived look, "there's something we need to say." Everyone became quiet. Forks stopped in midair. My stomach constricted. I recognized that tone. It was the same one Mom used to ground me at 14 for a party I didn't even attend. "We had a family vote," she explained, looking around at everyone like a pageant queen about to be crowned. "And we've decided you're not family anymore." Silence. Then there was some cheering. My cousin Laura applauded as if she were at a concert. Uncle Mitch raised his wine glass in a toast. Even my mother laughed and remarked, "Well, someone had to say it." I sat there, paralyzed, staring at the plate. The stuffing had cooled, but my blood was boiling. My father did not even glance at me. He just sipped his beer and murmured, "It's probably for the best." "Wow," I murmured, carefully pushing back my chair. "You guys actually rehearsed this?" Natalie smiled wider. "You've been toxic for years. We're just finally done pretending you're not family," my mother explained, going for the cranberry sauce as if we were talking about the weather. "It's unanimous." I looked around. Nobody spoke up, not a single person. "Good," I replied gently. Then I reached into my backpack. "I figured this might happen," I said, taking out a thick folder and carefully setting it in the center of the table. The sound it made, a thunk, cut through the laughs. Natalie blinked. "What is that?" I grinned and leaned back in my chair, folding my arms. "Why don't you find out?" She grabbed it and ripped it open. Her mouth twisted into that sarcastic little sneer she always wore when she believed she was winning. Then she turned the first page and stopped smiling. Her face became pallid. Her eyes scanned the following page and the next. Then she shouted. I meant to yell like a blood-curdling horror movie scream. Her chair smashed behind her, and she jumped upright, slamming the folder closed as if it had burned her hands. "You monster!" she exclaimed. "You messed up, twisted weirdo." Gasps resonated across the table. Joel, her husband, grabbed the folder and opened it. Then his mouth fell. He stared at me. "Is this?" I nodded once. "It's all real," I said. "Every word, every receipt, every screenshot." The table became dead silent. You could hear a fork clink in the kitchen. My mother's mouth opened and closed repeatedly, like a fish struggling for oxygen. "You were so sure I wouldn't fight back," I murmured, carefully getting up. "So sure I'd stay the quiet one, the doormat, the cash cow." I leaned over and stared Natalie dead in the eyes. "But guess what? Your little show. It's over. You want to know what was within the folder? I will get there. But first, let me explain how we got here." Natalie did not wake up one day and realize I wasn't her family. That conclusion was made over many years, brick by brick, comment after comment, betrayal upon betrayal. I was never their favorite, not even close. Natalie was the star, the golden girl. Good grades, big smile, she knew how to work a room. She could lie directly to someone's face and have them appreciate her for it. I, on the other hand, remained quiet, private. I didn't require attention, and they despised that. They saw my quiet as weakness. I moved out at the age of 19. I paid for college myself, worked 2 jobs, never sought for assistance. Meanwhile, Natalie failed 2 majors. She traveled to Europe to find herself. Then she returned home and married Joel, the human equivalent of a LinkedIn profile in a blazer. What about the wedding? I paid for half. My parents couldn't afford it, but they managed to book a 2-week trip shortly after. I did not complain. I never did. Even when they joked that I was the family accountant, I continued to assist, paying for Dad's dental surgery, sending money when Mom claimed the heat bill was past due, even financing a portion of my cousin Laura's tuition when she was waitlisted for a scholarship. They constantly said, "Thank you, sure." But with that tone, the person who said, "Well, of course you'd help, you don't have a family of your own." And perhaps it is what caused it. See, I am single, no children, no spouse. There's no drama. It's just myself, my work, and my dog. And in their minds, that meant I had nothing better to do than subsidize their disasters. Natalie treated me like I was her personal failsafe. When did Joel lose his job? She called me first. Just a small loan. When did her automobile break down? You make 6 figures, what's 2 grand? When her child required therapy, but her insurance didn't pay it. Yeah, guess who she called? I was always willing to help, always, because I persuaded myself it was family. But helping became an obligation. Then comes expectancy. Then comes demand. Started little. Dinnertime jokes have a double meaning. Oh, you brought wine? Must be nice to afford good wine. Of course you're early, you have no kids to worry about. I wish I could work late every night and avoid my husband too. Then things grew uglier. You're so cold. Maybe that's why you're still alone. You don't understand real stress. You don't have a real life. You're just bitter that no one needs you. Except they needed me constantly, financially, quietly, behind closed doors. Then came the text. Natalie. Hey, can you co-sign for a small business loan? Joel and I want to start a wellness cafe. Me, no. Natalie, wow, really? Then came the quiet. That happened 3 months ago. Since then, I've received the cold shoulder. Mom stopped phoning. Dad sent 1-word responses. Nobody invited me to the last family meal. Natalie blocked me on social media after I shared a story about shutting out harmful people. But I didn't sulk. Instead, I began retrieving receipts. Literal receipts. See, I keep records. Bank transfers, emails, screenshots, dates. I am not stupid. And in the last 5 years alone, I've sent almost $78,000 to various family members. $78,000. $8,000 for Joel's rehabilitation. Natalie's emergency dental work cost $2,300 and turned out to be elective veneers. $1,500 for my father's back surgery. $12,000 for my mother's credit card debt. $6,000 for Laura's college move-in expenses. $4,500 for a family emergency that turned out to be a trip to Cabo. And not just once. None of them offered to pay me back. They just took. And when I stopped providing, they assumed I was the problem. So I created the folder. All transfer confirmations are included. Every email and SMS demanding funds. Natalie accused me of being deceptive in front of her friend after I declined the loan. A chronology of every large payment I've made over the previous 5 years. And to top it all off, copies of their mocking Facebook and Instagram posts about me. I have screenshots of Natalie calling me a cash cow with no spine in a private comment thread that she was unaware I had access to. So yes, that is what she noticed when she opened the folder. That is what made her scream. Natalie was not only exposed, she was dismantled. Fact by fact, line by line, page by page. Meanwhile, the rest of the family discovered what they had done. My mother looked like she was about to faint. Joel gazed at the line that read, for $1,200 to cover Natalie's credit card, used at a hotel in Santa Monica with someone named Alyssa, and merely said, "What is this?" I didn't respond. I did not have to, because for the first time I was not protecting myself. I was simply showing them the truth. You kept records? My mother finally asked, her voice trembling. Of everything? I turned to her, calm as always. You never remembered, so someone had to. Natalie was still standing, still pale. She clenched her hands at her sides. Her gaze darted to Joel, to me, to the folder. "This is a violation," she said. "You had no right to." "No right?" I replied, carefully rising up. "You just stood in front of this whole family and declared me not family. You all clapped. And now you're upset that I came prepared." Joel turned another page in the folder. "What's this about Santa Monica?" he questioned, his voice tense. Natalie's head snapped toward him. "Don't start." "Who's Alyssa?" he inquired. "Why were you at a hotel for 3 nights on my credit card?" Her silence was louder than any response. "Wait," my mom interrupted, bringing her palms up. "Can we all just calm down and be reasonable?" "Sure," I replied. "Let's be reasonable. Let's talk about the time you called me a parasite while cashing the check I sent you." She blinked. "That's not fair. We were under stress." "No," I snapped. "You were stressed, and I always bailed you out. And when I say no, I suddenly become the enemy." My father, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "You're making this into something bigger than it is." I turned to face him, and my voice lowered. "You've let them do this to me for years. You knew. You saw it. You heard it. And you let it happen because it was easier than confronting them." He did not refute it. Natalie slapped her hand onto the table. "You're just bitter because no one needs you anymore." "Wrong," I replied bitterly. "I am not bitter. I'm finished." She gave a sour laugh. "You're pathetic. Do you know how dramatic this all looks? Bringing a folder, printing screenshots. You think this makes you the victim? You're just proving you're a control freak. And you're just proving," I said, "that you only cared about me when I was paying your bills. You don't get to play the martyr," she yelled. "You chose to help. You didn't have to. And yet, somehow," I murmured, going forward. "You expected it every single time, until it was no longer helpful, but rather an obligation. And when I stopped, you voted me out." My voice cracked, not from grief, but from wrath. "You did not want a brother. You wanted a wallet with legs." Joel stood up, holding the packet. "Is this true?" he inquired, glancing at Natalie. "All of this?" Natalie glanced at him, and for the first time, she didn't respond. There are no phony tears, no deflection. There's just silence. "You lied to me," he stated. "About the hotel, the money, and him. You made it sound like he was insane." "I had to," she exclaimed. "He was turning everyone against me." "I wasn't," I said. "You did that all by yourself." The room became quiet again. Then my mother leaned forward and tried again. Her voice softened. "Honey, we may have overreacted, but it's still family and family quarrels. Let's put this behind us." I cut her off. "You're not hearing me." She blinked. "What?" "I am not seeking for peace. I am not asking for forgiveness. I am telling you, I'm finished." Natalie scoffed. "Oh, stop pretending like this is some big moment. You've said that before." I looked her dead in the eye. "Not like this." I reached into my coat pocket and took out another envelope. "What now?" my father inquired, obviously fatigued. I tossed it on the table. Joel snatched it before it slid away. He opened it, read the first line, his eyes expanded. "What is this?" he murmured. I responded for him. "Power of attorney documents for Mom were revoked. Medical proxy revoked. Emergency contact information has been removed. I've already signed the paperwork. I am no longer legally or emotionally liable for any of you." My mother gave a gasp. "You're cutting ties completely?" "Completely," I replied. "Starting now." "You're being selfish," she replied, tears welling up in her eyes. "We made mistakes, but we're still your family." I turned to face her, and my voice fell again, calm, final. "No, you're not." I grabbed my coat, took one more look at them, before walking out the door, leaving them in the midst of Thanksgiving dinner, stunned and speechless, surrounded with cold food and unpleasant truths. I walked out and I did not look back. Not because it wasn't painful, it did. But when I closed the door behind me, stepped off their porch, and entered the cold night air. I felt something move within of me. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I didn't drive directly home. I pulled off the road near a lake I used to frequent as a child, where Dad used to take me fishing. I sat there, silent, looking out at the quiet water, and I experienced something I hadn't felt in a long time. There's nothing grabbing my attention. There is no guilt. There is no pressure. No one is waiting for a check or a ride or a favor. Only quietness. The next morning was silent. The following day, nothing happened. But on the third day, the texts began. First, my mother, a missed call, then another, then a voicemail. You really mean it? We were angry, but we're still your family. I did not respond. Natalie then sent text messages. You don't even realize what you've done. Joel's filing for divorce. Are you happy? Something is really wrong with you. Then my father. You went too far. We all said things we regret, but what you did was nuclear. Your mother is a wreck. Come fix this. I did not respond to any of them. And honestly, I expected to feel guilty. I imagined myself tossing and turning at night, wondering if I had gone too far. But instead, I slept better than I have in years. There was no more second-guessing each text. No more waiting for the other shoe to drop. No more late-night Venmo solicitations or guilt trips posing as emergencies. For the first time in decades, I could hear myself thinking. I began waking up early, going on runs, making coffee slowly. I made appointments that I had put off for years. Dentist, doctor, even a psychotherapist. Not because I was broken, but I was now free to care for myself. I rewrote my emergency contacts. I removed my parents. I changed my passwords, froze all joint accounts they had access to. I blocked Natalie on all platforms. It wasn't about vengeance anymore. It was about coming to a close. A week after Thanksgiving, I received a text from Laura, my cousin who clapped when they voted me out. I didn't know you paid for my tuition. I'm sorry. I followed the crowd. You were always the one who actually helped. I didn't respond, but I reread it twice. Then another surprise. A message from Joel. I filed the papers. Everything in that folder checked out. She cheated, lied, manipulated. Not just you, me too. He added, you did the right thing. I should have left sooner. I wasn't expecting that, but it landed. A few days later, I did something I hadn't done for years. I applied for a job in a different city. Not because I'm running, but I was finally free. No more, you should stay close to home. No more, who will take care of them if you leave? I began reconnecting with friends I had not seen in years. People I'd withdrawn from since I was always preoccupied with family matters. And the wildest part? Some of them saw my message on Reddit. They contacted out simply to say, we're proud of you. That was brave. Nobody asked for money. No one made me feel guilty. Nobody tried to spin it. Simply support. Simple. Honest. Clean. Somebody asked me, don't you regret it? I thought for a second. Vince said, I only regret not doing it sooner. I assumed that was it, and in a way it was. But with individuals like them, nothing ever goes well, especially as kids begin to feel the effects of your absence. The first several weeks following Thanksgiving were peaceful, beautifully and frighteningly calm. No calls. There is no guilt, just peace. Until Christmas. On December 22nd, I received a text message from my mother. Just a photo. This was their living room, dressed in stockings, a half-decorated tree front and center, a large empty space where they normally stack the presents. It doesn't feel the same without you, the caption read. Ellie constantly wonders why Uncle is not coming this year. I stared at it for quite a while. No apologies, no ownership, just the same manipulative tone. Look at what you've done. Take a look at who you are harming. I didn't respond. Natalie tried phoning on December 23rd. I let it ring out. She then sent a message. I realize I messed up, but you don't have to punish everyone. Please come by for Ellie. She misses you. 2 minutes later. Additionally, Mom and Dad are behind on their mortgage. I understand you don't care anymore, but the bank called today. I assumed you would want to know. There it was. The request. Always wrapped in a cloak of guilt. It was always coded with faux tenderness. But it always concluded with a request. I blocked that number. On December 24th, Dad sent another text. You made your point. We get it. But that is plenty. We need assistance. We are still your blood. That night, I sat alone by the fireplace, drinking a glass of wine. I gazed around my tiny apartment. There was no tree or noise, just me in the solitude that they said would ruin me. And for the first time in my life, I felt grateful for the silence. But it did not end there. In January, I received a call from an unfamiliar phone number. I picked it up out of habit. Is it Daniel? A man's voice inquired. Yes, who is calling? My name is Mark, he said. I am phoning on behalf of your father. He added, that you are the chief executive of the family trust. I froze. I removed the job 2 months ago, I stated. That was finalized by the family attorney. My name is not on anything. The man stopped. I see. Your father stated that he was unable to contact you directly and requested that I investigate options in that situation. Of course they were. Natalie and my parents had run out of choices. The ATM was closed. The safety net was gone. They were now striving to be inventive. I hung up without saying another thing. But the last straw came in February. I received an envelope in the mail. Handwritten. There was no return address, but I immediately recognized my mother's handwriting. Inside was a 3-page letter. The first page was all about regrets. We said things in fury. You have always been the strong one. We never understood how much we relied on you. The second page addressed guilt. Your father's health is not good. Natalie is utterly alone now. We're concerned about Ellie. She's struggling. The third page was the hook. We are selling the house, but we are underwater on our mortgage. We only need a little aid to get through this. Then we won't ask again. Please, Daniel, do it for your father, do it for the family. I sat with the letter for a long while, allowing myself to experience everything they wanted me to feel. The weight of responsibility, the pain of obligation, and the desperate need to repair what was damaged. Then I folded the letter, got up, went to the kitchen, and threw it away. The truth is that they weren't asking for assistance. They were requesting access again. They did not want me back in the family. They wanted the version of me who refused to say no. The person who paid quietly, sacrificed quietly, and suffered silently. But that version of me is no longer here. I'm no longer their scapegoat. I am not their golden goose. I'm not the duct tape that keeps a broken house together. I am finished. The most alarming element for them is that I can function without them. I received a new job and relocated to a new location with a larger space and a fresh start. I began helping on weekends, not because anyone needed me, but because I wanted to. I created a life in which no one phones me at 11 p.m. to cover up a mistake they refuse to admit, and I am not punished for being independent, where kindness is not exploited as leverage. I don't regret aiding them, but I do regret taking so long to stop. You want to know what true tranquility feels like? It's not about being surrounded by family. It means being rid of those who only refer to you as family when they need something. Update months later. I doubted this post would receive attention. Honestly, I just needed to say it and put it somewhere. But I read every single remark. The individuals who said, "You were brave. Do not deserve you? Thank you." I had no idea how much I needed to hear that until I actually did. And of the few who inquired, what if they change? I've also asked myself that question. It's been several months now. They did not change. After I cut them off, after the folder, after the yelling, stillness, and letters, I hoped that someone would get it. That they would reflect. That they'd say, "We're sorry." They did not. They became quiet for a bit, then they became strategic, then they became desperate, then they turned nasty again. But I got free. Since then, I've moved. I have a job that does not keep me up at night. I started therapy, real therapy, the kind when you stop attempting to fix everyone else and instead learn to sit with yourself. I cook for myself now. I sleep better. I go outside more. I don't flinch when the phone rings. And yes, I do think about Ellie, what she's being taught and what she'll grow up believing is normal. But I also know this. I am an example of someone who has finally had enough. A few days ago, I received another handwritten note from my mother. It was 3 words: "We are still family." There is no context, apology, or change, just the same old hook. And for the first time, I felt nothing. There is no rage or despair, just nothing. I threw it away and prepared dinner. So I'm returning here because this place provided me with unexpected insight. Strangers saw me more clearly than my own blood ever could. So here's my question. Did I do the right thing by cutting them off, decreasing the weight, and saying no with conviction? Was I too chilly? Or was I tired of being the only one holding everything together? I don't know. But I know this. For the first time in my life, I am not surviving, I am living. Thank you for reading. Still listening. Now on to the next story. Story 7. My stepdaughter's prank went too far, causing a major conflict in our family. Now, my marriage and relationship with her may never be the same. I know the title sounds bad, but please read and throw away. Plus, fake names. I, 38M, married Judd, 44F, a few years ago, and I acquired a stepdaughter, Abby, 14F, as a result. I dated Judd when Abby was 8, met her when she was 9, and married Judd when she was 10. I'd say our relationship is okay. She doesn't act bratty towards me and respects me enough as her mom's husband. However, there is one glaring issue about her, and that is her pranking nature. Abby loves to pull pranks. Some examples are her hiding my car keys with what looked like $100 bills in a box. I found them quickly because she failed to notice my keys have duct tape on them. Another one is when she hid in the fridge, something I still find very weird, to scare the first person who opened it. Well, last Wednesday I arrived home, and it seemed that I was the only one there. Only my shoes were at the doorstep, and I even called out Judd's and Abby's names with no answer. This is somewhat normal, as Judd sometimes works late, and Abby stays at school for extracurriculars. So, I screwed around with my dog, a German Shepherd and Husky mix, for anyone that will ask, for a bit, and then I decided to relieve myself. When I got to the bathroom, I noticed that the window cabinet was open. I thought nothing of it at first and unzipped my pants, but then I saw a shadow behind the shower curtains. I thought the worst and immediately punched the figure behind the curtains. Well, as everyone may have guessed from the title, it was Abby. She was making a prank video, and I had not noticed that she propped her phone up on the bathroom cabinet with 2 cups. I'm not going to lie, I did not hold back. I punched her as hard as I could. Her nose looked broken, and when I realized it, I flipped out and so did she. After maybe 5 minutes of freaking out, I drove her to urgent care and informed Judd of the situation. Her nose was indeed broken and would need about 6 to 12 weeks of recovery. Abby won't talk to me, and as for Judd, she thinks that my action may have been justified but also thinks I should have approached with more caution, which she has refused to elaborate on. So, am I the a-hole? Comments. Comment 1, NTA. Get a copy of the video. If Abby starts bitching to people about how her stepdad broke her nose, you are looking at jail time. Get and keep a copy of the evidence that she startled you while you were peeing. You need to sit Judd and Abby down and have a serious conversation. Filming without consent while someone is in the bathroom is a massive invasion of privacy and illegal in many places. If she did this to another kid, it could be considered child PRN. While you are in the bathroom, you feel vulnerable. With having your pants down / genitals out, those feelings increase the fight-flight part of the brain, and that you react on instinct. Please tell Abby that you love her and never meant to hurt her. Comment 2. And why would a young girl think pranking her stepfather in the bathroom is ever a good idea? She should at least be talked to about pranking anyone in the bathroom, especially with a video. Comment 3. This is so unfortunate. People get killed for this. She's lucky she's alive. That's the normal reaction to fight. As messed up as this is, stick firmly because this is a life lesson. Play stupid games and win stupid prizes. Fortunately, it's all on tape, right? So you're protected. What she did is actually what's unforgivable. Her dumb antics are going to get someone killed or put in jail. Her mother needs to address this. Not one more prank. Ever. Comment 4. How stupid does a 14-year-old have to be to not know that recording someone in the bathroom without their consent is a very bad idea? And what was the stupid prank? Boo! I scared you. So I'm going to put your reaction and PP on social media. Hey, NTA, but you might want to get legal advice/lawyer before a false and more sinister version gets circulated. Comment 5. As a teacher, I can say that 14-year-olds are indeed very uninformed. Had a 14-year-old once who took 30 minutes to go to the bathroom. When he finally came back, because he was a kid who didn't usually cause trouble and I was worried, I privately asked what the heck took so long. His response: I was waiting for people to leave the bathroom. I still didn't get it, so he elaborated. If you use a stall, you're probably trying to or do something that you need privacy for, and other people will see your feet under the stall and try to film you by putting their phones over the walls of the stall. I started requiring that students trade their phones for the hall pass after that. Also told the administration, but they didn't do anything. Point is, yes, teenagers are that uninformed that behavior like this doesn't click as being problematic. Update 1 12 days later. Well, this blew up big time. Let's address a few things. Abby's pranking nature isn't just situated on me. She has pulled pranks on her friends, the neighbors, and at school. The school has called Judd several times about this, as they have resulted in mild vandalism. The refrigerator prank. She was 11 when that happened, not a grown teenager. It was a brand new and very large fridge that my uncle bought and showed off to everyone. So, she climbed in until he opened it again. Judd yelled at her, saying that she could have suffocated in there, and took her outside to scold her for a few hours. The video doesn't show the toilet at all, just the shower curtain. However, the issue still remains that this was a massive invasion of privacy. The video has been deleted, and Abby has admitted it was purely her fault. Update 2. It's been a chaotic week. Judd still refused to elaborate on how the situation should have been handled. I showed the post as a result, and she did a 180 turn. She suddenly thought it may be time to stage an intervention, and I agreed. We brought some of her friends, as well as my cousin's wife, Jess. Jess is an officer from another state, and Abby seems to respect her. In this intervention, we state how we were each affected by her various pranks and how in turn they affected her. Jess also spoke about how much of these pranks border on criminal territory, meaning she could be arrested or face retaliation. It seemed to have gotten to her, and Abby cried a bit and promised to do better. When everybody else left, Jess stayed behind and brought to our attention about a disciplinary camp that we could send her to. The program is 6 weeks long and involves group therapy, individual therapy, and constructive projects, whatever that means, and is held at a university campus. The program apparently has good reviews. Judd seems dead set in sending her to figure out her core problems. I'm a little hesitant about sending a kid away from home, but I'm the step-parent, so I got no say. Update 3. Okay, I swear Judd must be following my posts because now she's taking back what she said and is now thinking about doing what I and you fellow Redditors suggested in the first place. Weekly therapy. So, we agreed that I'm going to find a therapist and I'm going to front the bill for it since she didn't take this seriously in the first place. Comments. Comment 1. The program apparently has good reviews. Try to get more than just reviews. The troubled teen industry is pretty horrifying. There's a troubled teen subreddit for survivors. It's brutal. OP. I'm aware. That's why I'm hesitant about this. Comment 2. Oh, thank God. I'm glad you're aware of the troubled teen industry. My heart sank so low when I read that your friend was suggesting it. Maybe it's legit, but I do feel it's a bit of an extreme response. Abby seems like a mostly good kid who just has this one stupid thing that's got stuck in her brain. Normal teen stuff. I find it interesting that Judd did a 180 after reading a post and now seems to be going from one extreme to the other, no real punishment to all punishment. I would think a bit more about that. I realize you're a step-parent and likely have no say in how Abby is parented, but I find it very concerning that your wife seems to be so easily influenced by outsiders. Honestly, if Abby's able to keep to her word, to, if not end her pranks entirely, at least tone it down, I'd say you're all in the clear. Maybe suggest to Judd that you keep this program in reserve in case she needs it, and that she has a chance to prove she's learned her lesson first. Comment 3. Sent away seems extreme. Have you looked into this program? Is it held at a religious college? She might just end up abused at some of these types of teen rehabilitation camps and also just exposed to kids that are worse. I realize it might not be your call, but I would suggest try local therapy first, way before sending a kid off. Oh, and I agree, sending a kid away from home will probably just damage them more. But Judd seems intent on dishing out the harshest punishment immediately, thinking that this will nip it in the bud, or she doesn't want to be seen as an enabler. She changed opinions real fast when I showed her the original post. Update 4. 7 months later. Well, it's been 7-ish months, and there have been a few developments. Let's address some more things before getting there. Up until recently, I have been still getting DMs asking, why is this brat still in my house? Why am I friends with Jess? And why did I name my wife Judd in my posts? I was drinking when I made my first post. I saved a draft and went back to it after a few hours of sobering up, fixing a bunch of grammatical mistakes. But some got overlooked, and it just stuck. I was planning on calling her Judy. Jess and I are not friends. She is married to my cousin, who I do have a good relationship with, as well as their 2 daughters and Jess's daughter. Jess has a serious problem with boundaries. As for why Abby was still living with me, you have to understand, her stepfather, broke Abby's, my stepdaughter's, nose. If word got out, it would look really bad. I would be seen as an abuser and may have even been arrested. Several comments have pointed out how I should have saved that video for my own safety. I was pretty much going insane at that point, and my wife thought nothing of it, thinking I should have just let this go until I showed her my original post. To be honest, I wanted to keep the intervention that we had smaller, that didn't involve her friends, because I felt they did not need to know about it. I just wanted her grandparents and Jess to show up, but I was convinced otherwise. Update 5. We decided that we would send Abby to weekly therapy. We were under the agreement that I would find and pay for it, and if it worked, my wife would pay me back. Did work. Abby improved by a lot. She has realized how much damage she has done and is working to improve things. She has even begun to do volunteer work as well, which I didn't think she would do. She has apologized profusely, realizing how disgusting her prank was. She has also deleted her TikTok account, claiming that's where she got all the ideas from. We decided we would get her a new smartphone for her birthday 3 months ago for the improvement she'd shown. We took away all smart devices as punishment. I don't think I mentioned that before. As for me and my wife, I gave her an ultimatum. Since therapy worked for Abby, it would be time we go to couples therapy or else we separate. We were having problems before this whole incident showed up, and now it kind of has to be forced. For the past 2 years, we've been living more like roommates, and her enabling behavior is finally causing things to fall apart. She reluctantly agreed. It ended up being short-lived. She spoke during our sessions how I take things out of proportion and I went too far posting the incident online. She revealed that she was indeed following my posts, and that's why she changed her mind about the camp. Our therapist then asked us both if we loved each other at all. I was honest and said yes, but it's becoming difficult. My wife, on the other hand, said she was in love with the idea of me. I needed a minute if I heard that right, and she went on how I was apparently a catch. I was younger than her, had a stable job and owned a house, and she thought my loyalty was a bonus. I don't know why, but I asked her if she cheated on me, and she said no, but it doesn't matter. She just revealed that she settled for me. I filed for divorce 2 months ago. We had a prenup, so things are going smoothly, other than her erroneously claiming some jewelry as hers, but my lawyer seems to think that it should be finalized within 1 to 2 months. So, my ex has moved out along with Abby. My dog misses them. She just sits by the door, waiting for hours for them to come back. My ex is not happy about how things have progressed. She has been calling me a spineless bastard who couldn't just tolerate how things are and has been saying to everyone who will listen. But behind closed doors she's been blaming Abby for her divorce, claiming it was her behavior that caused it. I know this because she has called me and texted me semi-regularly. Abby is living with her grandparents because apparently her mother can't deal with her right now. I actually liked my in-laws. They were real good people, and they apologized for their daughter's actions and even offered to reimburse me for Abby's therapy sessions. They told me that they were going to take care of Abby because it seems her mother has finally lost it. I spoke with Abby and assured her that this wasn't her fault. Chances are we were going to divorce regardless. She then told me that she didn't want me to leave and that I was the closest thing to a father she ever had. This surprised me. I never really saw myself as a parental figure for Abby. I only really did the minimal. Outside of that, I just paid for school events/supplies and would carve out some time for her, but I did leave it up to her if she wanted to spend time with me. I told her that maybe when she turns 18 we can pick up where we left off, but until then, I don't think we can see each other. Her mother would definitely try to keep her away from me, and to be honest, I need some time away from Abby as well. Things are so quiet at home that it's relaxing. So there you go. I don't even care if my ex finds this post. TLDR. Sent Abby to therapy. It worked, but now me and her mother are divorcing, and things are just falling apart. Comments. Comment 1. I figured this was where this was headed. Good for you, you deserve better, OP, and congrats on being smart enough to get a prenup. Oh, when I brought up the prenup, she was hesitant and took about 4 months to get her to sign it. Guess that alone should have screamed problems. Comment 2. So your ex-wife didn't get the idea that if she loved you and invested in being more than a roommate, you two would still be married? Like, what's the deal here? To your ex, not you. Advice: get your dog another dog to be busy. He will forget them at some point. Might also search for a dog daycare somewhere so he can meet other pet friends. OP. Honestly, I think she is just incapable of forming a relationship beyond a superficial one at this point. As for my dog, I did hire a dog walker for her during the day after they moved out. Guess I'll look into doggy daycare too now. Now on to the next story. Story 8. I stopped babysitting for my sister-in-law due to poor health. She didn't understand and even accused me of stealing money and sued me for defamation. For the past 2 years, I, Arya, 33F, have been the primary babysitter for my sister-in-law, Gue, 37F. Her children, Mia and Noah, were adorable, and despite Gue's entitled demeanor, I really enjoyed spending time with them. I recall when Mia was a toddler and Noah was a newborn, I would spend hours with them while Gue did whatever she wanted. I would play games with Mia, assist her with her arts and crafts, and even read books to Noah. It was a lot of fun. Even though I didn't have my own children, I became really devoted to them. The beginning of my health struggles. However, things began to alter a few months ago. I was diagnosed with a chronic disease which affected me more than I anticipated. I had to dramatically change my lifestyle. I used to be full of energy, constantly doing something, whether it was running errands or assisting with family matters. But suddenly, my body couldn't keep up with the speed. I was continuously exhausted, and even basic things felt like mountains I had to conquer. The doctor gave me severe advice. I needed to reduce physical and mental stress. At first, I attempted to ignore it, hoping to get through, but it rapidly became evident that this was not something I could just dismiss. Some days I couldn't even get out of bed without feeling absolutely exhausted. So, regrettably, I informed Gue that I would no longer be able to babysit regularly. I described everything, how my health had changed and how I needed to prioritize self-care. I wasn't seeking compassion, but rather understanding. Gue's reaction and the family dinner. But instead of providing the assistance I expected, Gue snapped. I vividly recall her precise words. "What do you even do all day?" It stung. I felt as though I had been slapped, but I tried to remain cool. I wasn't just lounging around all day. I was in constant pain and exhausted, which she couldn't understand. Yet here she was, making it appear that I was simply being lazy. It hurt. She went on to add that babysitting her kids wasn't even difficult and that I was selfish for not assisting. I attempted to explain again, but reasoning with Gue is like talking to a brick wall. She didn't listen no matter what I stated. She was convinced I was exaggerating. I couldn't keep responding to her, so I decided to stop and hope she'd let it go. But she didn't. Every few days she'd message me, wondering when I'd start babysitting again or expressing her desperate need for assistance. I felt like I was being guilted into giving in. At first, I tried to be strong and stick to my decision. I was really concerned about my health and realized I needed to listen to my body. But after a few weeks, I began to have a creeping sensation of shame. I kept thinking of Mia and Noah. They were really sweet, and I felt like I was leaving them. It made me doubt myself. Was I being selfish? Perhaps I was simply overreacting to my condition? Perhaps I could still help out a little, just not as much as before? But then I'd remember how my body felt after overdoing it. That notion would bring me back to the facts of the situation. It wasn't only about me anymore, it was about my health, well-being, and my ability to care for myself. Over time, I didn't want to end up in a worse situation because I felt guilty. In the end, Gue did not respond as I had expected. She never apologized or acknowledged how my health was hurting me. Instead, she sulked for several weeks. I didn't hear anything from her other than the occasional passive-aggressive remark. It was difficult to deal with, but I knew I needed to keep my distance for my own safety. A month later, my husband and I received an invitation to a family dinner at my in-laws' residence. I honestly had mixed thoughts about going. I hadn't seen Gue since our last furious argument, and the prospect of her approaching me again made my stomach turn. But it was family, and I didn't want to cause any problems, so I agreed to go. I hoped things would be cordial and that Gue would have had the opportunity to reflect on her actions. Of course, that did not happen. I could feel the tension in the air from the moment we stepped through the door. Gue wasted no time making me the center of attention in the worst way possible. She greeted us with her smug look, which made me feel like she was already planning something. As we sat down at the dinner table, everyone was conversing, catching up, and generally having fun. It appeared to be a usual family dinner until Gue decided to speak up. "So, Arya," she murmured, "are you still too sick to help out with my kids? Or is it just an excuse because you're too lazy to get off the couch?" The room went completely silent. I could feel my face burning as I struggled to remain calm. I'm not one to make a spectacle, but the comment hit me right in the gut. I had not informed my family members about my situation. My heart was beating, and I noticed everyone at the table shifting uneasily in their seats. I took a long breath and responded, attempting to keep my voice calm. "I've already explained my condition to you, Gue. It's not an excuse. I'm just trying to take care of my health." She did not even flinch. Instead, she smiled and remarked, "Health, huh? Maybe babysitting would do you some good? Get you off your pity train." She chuckled as if she had just told the best joke of the century, while the rest of the table exchanged uneasy glances. Then, the rest of the family members began asking me what had happened, and I had to tell them everything. I was outraged, but I didn't want to exacerbate the situation, especially in front of my in-laws. I merely gazed at my plate and clenched my fists beneath the table. I knew I had to maintain my composure, but inside I was furious. I wanted to say so many things, like how she had no idea what I was going through and how her lack of empathy was truly mind-boggling. But I held my tongue. Fortunately, my husband was not having any of this. He rushed in and defended me before I could say anything. "Gue, that's enough," he remarked, his voice stern yet calm. "You can't talk to Arya like that. She's been through a lot, and you need to respect her boundaries." Even with his help, it appeared that the harm had been done. Gue was not one to back down lightly, and it didn't take long before she began making passive-aggressive remarks. "I just don't get it," she told me with a straight face. "It's not like I'm asking you to do anything hard. Babysitting is just watching the kids for a few hours. I don't understand what the big deal is." Everyone else at the table simply stared at their food, hoping that the conversation would cease. But it did not. Gue continued to press. "Maybe if you actually helped out, you wouldn't be so tired all the time." At this moment, I was finished. I was about to snap, but I did not want to cause a scene. So I took a big breath, feigned a smile, and said, "Gue, I've already told you that I can't babysit on a regular basis right now. If you don't understand that, perhaps we should just leave it at that." She didn't say anything after that, just looked at me curiously. I attempted to dismiss those ideas and concentrate on the fact that I had stood up for myself, but it was difficult not to feel insignificant in the face of Gue's complete disregard for my sentiments. The rest of the evening was as miserable as you might expect. Gue maintained her distance, but the tension in the air was strong, and I felt unable to relax. The theft accusation and aftermath. Unfortunately, her resentment did not stop there. Oh no, it got much worse. A few days after the family meal, I was sitting at home trying to relax after another long day when there came a tap on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so when I opened the door, I was surprised to see a police officer standing on my porch. My heart sank into my stomach as I struggled to make sense of what was occurring. I stood there in full shock as the police officer claimed that he was coming to investigate a theft report. Apparently, Gue had filed a lawsuit accusing me of taking money from her home. The words barely registered in my head at first. A theft report against me? I was unable to make sense of it. I immediately called Gue to try to acquire some information. My hand shook as I held the phone to my ear, my heart thumping in my chest. The phone rang for a few seconds before she answered. Gue, I replied. What is going on? Why are the police at my door? Why would you accuse me of stealing from you? She wasted no time flinging insults at me. You think you can just ditch my kids and get away with it? She said over the phone. Maybe this will teach you not to mess with me. I'm not going to let you get away with anything. I was shocked. This woman had truly gone to this length to make my life miserable. The claim was ridiculous, and I couldn't believe I was actually having this conversation. But it wasn't about reason or logic for her. It was about vengeance. She appeared to be eager to go to any length to punish me for setting boundaries, asserting my rights. I tried to remain calm, but my rage was boiling over. Gue, I muttered through clenched teeth. I didn't steal anything from you. This is insane. Why would you even make something like that up? But she laughed as if she relished seeing me upset. I'm not talking to you about this anymore, she said abruptly, hanging up the phone. I stood there in shock, staring at my phone. How could somebody be so petty and malicious? I had no idea how to digest what had just happened. The police officer was standing there, and Gue had gone as far as accusing me of stealing. Stealing. It was ridiculous, and yet here I was, forced into this nightmare. Fortunately, the police officer recognized that something was not adding up. After a little talk, he had begun to see through her tale. Maybe I was an easy target for her, but I had no motivation, no opportunity, and certainly no experience with anything like this. In fact, I had been home the whole day the money allegedly went missing, and I had a solid alibi. The officer even checked our security camera to verify my whereabouts. It wasn't long until the entire situation imploded. The officer was courteous and professional, apologizing for any difficulty and assured me that everything had been resolved. But the harm had already been done. Gue had attempted to drag me through the mud, and I had to cope with the consequences of her petty behavior. Despite the fact that I was not in trouble, the entire experience left me shaken. Her scheme backfired spectacularly when Mark found out about the police complaint and what Gue had done. He was furious. I'd never seen him that angry before. He'd always been the calmer, more patient one in their relationship, but this was the final straw. From what I could tell, he hadn't been pleased with her recent behavior, but the theft claim appeared to be the tipping point. Felt like something inside him cracked. He marched up to her and demanded she apologize to me. Of course, Gue refused. She was too proud, headstrong, and frankly, humiliated to accept her mistake. I only learned about all of this after Mark came to my house to apologize on her behalf. To be honest, I wasn't delighted with their relationship. It seemed strange to be caught in the middle of their turmoil. But at the same time, I felt vindicated. She had tried to ruin my life with her falsehoods, and the consequences were now catching up with her. I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief that things were finally unraveling for her. The saddest thing for Gue was when news of the police report reached the school where she worked. Gue had been a teacher for years, and I believe she had always assumed her position was secure. However, after the school learned about the fabricated theft claim and the participation of the police, things began to fall apart for her in a dramatic manner. While no legal charges were filed against her, the fact that she had contacted the authorities in such a petty and vindictive manner was enough to ruin her reputation. I couldn't help but feel bad about how much I enjoyed watching her life collapse. I knew it wasn't polite to enjoy someone else's demise, but after everything she'd put me through, it almost felt justified. It was as if the cosmos was finally serving her a dose of her own medication. For so long, she moved around with a sense of entitlement, as if the world revolved around her, and suddenly everything was falling apart. Of course, none of this was without consequences for me. As much as I wanted to move on and leave this mess behind me, it seemed like every time I took a step forward, I was drawn back into the drama. I began to feel sorry for the folks in our family who were caught in the middle, trying to decide which side to take. A few family members felt sorry for her and suspected that I had exaggerated or misread her intentions, but for the most part, they supported me. Still, there were awkward occasions at family gatherings when I had to act as if nothing was wrong, when in reality things had gotten exceedingly strained. Gui's life has fallen apart, and it appears that she is blaming everything on me. She lost it during another one of our family confrontations, pointing her finger and yelling that I was to blame for everything that had gone wrong. She exclaimed that if I hadn't been so theatrical during babysitting, none of this would have occurred. It seemed as if everything that had gone wrong in her life was now my fault. But I had already learned to maintain my composure. I did not participate in the yelling match. Instead, I answered calmly, "Gui, I didn't make you mock me at dinner. I didn't force you to file a false police report. You did this to yourself." It felt strangely empowering to speak those words. For once, I was not going to let her twist the story or make me feel like I was wrong. I won't lie, as I watched her spiral, I felt a little sense of justice. Seeing someone so toxic face the repercussions of their actions seemed natural, even if I didn't take joy in her suffering. I'd endured enough of her harshness. I had to tell myself that this wasn't some small victory for me. It was merely the result of her own actions. The fact was, I never wanted to be a part of this drama in the first place. I merely requested some space to concentrate on my health and well-being, but Gui interpreted that request as a personal attack. Everything that followed, her allegations, lies, and attempts to tarnish my reputation, was entirely her doing. I was not the one who escalated things, but I wasn't going to back down. Gui no longer talks to me, and honestly, I'm perfectly okay with that. If she cannot respect my boundaries, we cannot recover our relationship. I've realized that certain individuals are simply not intended to be in your life, no matter how close you were before. I have moved on from the drama and am finally at peace with it. The only thing I regret, if you can call it that, is the impact this entire situation has had on her children. Mia and Noah were completely innocent throughout all of this, and I have always loved them as if they were my own. I remain hoping that kids will grow up to be kinder and more understanding than their mother. I do not want children to inherit her bitterness and venom. However, the situation does not end here. Gui now faces serious consequences for making a fraudulent police report. I honestly didn't expect her to be held accountable, but it appears she is being investigated for making a fraudulent allegation. It appears that she may be required to pay a fine or face some type of penalty. Frankly, it could not have occurred to a more worthy individual. I'm not sure what the legal implications will be for her, but it appears that she'll have to deal with it one way or another. Of course, even as the walls close in on her, she refuses to accept responsibility for her deeds. Gui began calling me in an uncharacteristically out-of-touch manner. She's actually asking me to pay her fine. Yes, you read that correctly. She wants me to pay for the mess she made as if I owe her anything after everything she's put me through. It's truly comical, and I'm just sitting here shaking my head. At first, I had no idea how to reply. It's not like I want to go back and forth with her. Every time we communicate, I feel like I'm taking a step back in my healing journey. But this was different. This was her attempt to manipulate me one more time, and I was not having it. I've spent the last 2 months focusing on myself and regaining my peace, and this phone call felt like a slap to the face. She had no right to ask for anything after how she treated me. But then she brought her children into it and attempted to make me feel bad. I don't know what to do now. Do you have any suggestions? Update 1. Hello folks. I know some of you have asked about my condition, and I'd like to clarify that I don't feel comfortable posting too many specifics about it here. I hope you understand. But I will admit that it causes me to feel physically weary pretty quickly. I'm still getting used to it, and it's been a challenge. I'm learning to pace myself, but it's not always simple to explain, especially given other people's expectations. A couple of you also wondered how I ended up babysitting for Gui. so I thought I'd tell you a little bit about it to provide some perspective. Several years ago, I lost my job. To be honest, I had a difficult time. I'd been working in a tough capacity that frequently left me feeling burned out. After losing that job, I was at a crossroads, wondering what to do next. I didn't want to rush into another full-time job that would be equally hectic, so I decided to take some time to figure things out. Around that time, I acquired a part-time remote job that proved to be a true blessing. It's flexible, pays well, and I can work from home, which gives me more control over my schedule. Honestly, it's been a terrific balance that I've been able to maintain, even though it is only part-time. My husband has an excellent job, which helps. We've been able to maintain a decent financial situation together. So things worked out even though it wasn't the job route I had planned. Now that I was working from home and had more spare time, I began looking for activities to occupy my days. That's how I ended up babysitting for Gue. You know, Gue and I have always been related, but our relationship has had its ups and downs. She's not the easiest person to get along with, but when I lost my job, I had a lot of free time and figured I could help out with her kids. It began when she had to leave for a trip with her pals and her regular babysitter canceled at the last minute. She asked if I could step in, and I agreed despite my reservations about the concept. I assumed it would be something transitory, but it eventually became my second job. She kept asking me to babysit even when she wasn't on a trip. Her children, Mia and Noah, are wonderful, and I actually enjoy spending time with them, so I didn't fear it. But this is when things began to become difficult. What began as a courtesy quickly became something that seemed like an obligation. Gue grew to rely on me more and more, and before long I was babysitting on a regular basis. I didn't mind at first, but after a while, it felt like I was doing it for her convenience rather than out of a real desire to assist. It wasn't long before I was juggling a part-time job with babysitting, which was okay when I was feeling well. However, when my situation began to worsen, I felt stretched too thin. Looking back, I can't help but wonder whether I should have established boundaries earlier. I guess I wanted to be the kind, helpful family member who could do everything. However, in the end, it left me exhausted. It's acceptable to say no, even if someone else is vying for your time and attention. It is okay to prioritize your own needs. Update 2. Hello folks. I realize it's been a while, but I finally have some updates. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who contacted out and offered support during the crazy situation with Gue. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, but I'm doing fine now. So here's where things are. Gue did wind up paying a fee for filing a fraudulent police report, which surprised me given how swiftly it happened. She was further warned that repeating such behavior could result in more serious repercussions. To be honest, I'm glad she had to face some consequences for the disaster she created. It seemed like justice. However, I am not exactly celebrating it. I believe Gue would prefer to pretend nothing happened and go on. But that isn't how this works, right? The more shocking development, however, involves Gue and Mark. They are now separated. That came as a tremendous shock to the family. I never imagined it would come to this, but things definitely reached a breaking point for them. Mark was enraged when he learned about everything Gue did, especially the phony report. That was the last straw for him, and it wasn't long before they began living apart. They have been working on their relationship. However, according to what I've heard, they're in counseling, and Mark appears to want to attempt to make things better. I'm not sure what will happen to them in the long run, but there's still a chance they can work things out if both of them are ready to put in the effort. At this point, I've removed myself from their drama. It's difficult to care when you've been wrongfully accused of something you didn't commit. Gue still blames me for all that transpired. She refuses to speak to me, which is actually rather reassuring. I don't think I could take much more of her toxicity. There's just so much a person can take until they have to keep their own peace, and right now, I'm doing everything I can to focus on my health and happiness. No matter how toxic things were, I felt horrible for her. I understand her actions were the result of her personal problems, but that doesn't excuse what she did to me. I learned the hard way that just because someone is kin does not imply they have your best interests in mind. Even if you strive to help them, some people will manipulate and take advantage of you, and at some point you must draw a line. The fact that I can no longer see Mia and Noah has made things a little more difficult. I miss those children. They were an important part of my life for a long time, and despite the difficulties with Gue, I actually enjoyed spending time with them. They're both brilliant and sweet children. It's weird not to be a part of their life anymore. I know they miss me, but I'm not sure if I'll see them again. Gue has made it clear that she wants nothing to do with me, and I do not want to overstep my boundaries. Update 3. Hello everyone. I know it's been almost a month since my last update, but I finally have some new content for you. A lot has happened, and I feel like I've been on a roller coaster recently. Thank you to everyone who has reached out to me. Your warm words and support mean everything to me. So, let us start with Gue and Mark. Believe it or not, they're back together now. Yeah, I was startled too, given all that had happened, the drama, the accusations, and everything else. I assumed that was the end of their relationship. However, they managed to resolve the situation. It's bittersweet for me. As glad as I am that they are finding a path forward, I still haven't seen Mia or Noah. Honestly, I miss those children. I spent a lot of time with them, and they became an important part of my life. But with everything that happened, I can't seem to find a way back into their life. I know Gue has made it clear that she no longer wants me connected, and I do not want to break any limits, but I can't stop feeling like I'm losing out. I still think about them all the time and hope they are doing well. On a personal note, my illness has deteriorated in recent weeks. I won't go into too much detail, but let's just say I've been battling more physically. I was doing okay for a while until I had some flare-ups that brought me down. It's been a challenging few weeks, and there were times when I wondered how much longer I could continue. I was fatigued, and there were days when getting out of bed seemed impossible. I've been seeing my doctor more often and changing my treatment plan. Slowly but surely, I'm feeling better, but I'm not going to lie, there's an underlying concern that things could turn terrible again at any point. I simply need to take it one day at a time and be gentle to myself. I'm grateful that my hubby has been so supportive throughout this. He's been an incredible rock for me, and I'm not sure what I'd do without him. Anyway, that's where I am right now. I'm grateful for the help I've received, and I hope everyone is doing well. I'll let you know if anything more happens, but for now, I'm simply taking it one day at a time. Thank you again for being there for me. It truly means the world. Now on to the next story. Story 9. Caught my wife cheating and showed the video to our kids. I also sent it to her sick mom and her boss. Hello everyone. I'll try to keep this post short. My wife, 32F, cheated on me, 35M. She and I have been married since she was 22, and I thought our marriage was perfect. We have 2 children, both boys, 7 and 6 years old. I had my suspicions because she started coming to our house 40 minutes late after work. This lasted for 3 weeks until I decided to find out what was going on. I hired a private investigator who got photos and videos of her with her lover, her coworker. So I decided to take revenge. I sent those videos to her mother, who has a terminal illness. I don't want her to die thinking that her daughter is an angel. I sent those videos to her friends, to my family, to her boss, since at her work they have a strict rule of no relations between workers, and to the lover's wife. My kids were at my parents' house before that happened, and she was working. I asked my boss for a few days off. That's why I was able to do all this during work hours. Then I showed the video to my kids of their mom with her lover, and I told them that because of her we were going to get divorced. Of course, they didn't take it well. They cried, hugged me, etc. I will take them to a psychologist after I divorce my wife. We live in an at-fault state, so the fact that I have proof of her infidelity will help me in the divorce. I will admit it, I was not the perfect husband, but I never, ever did anything wrong for her to cheat on me. Why did she do it? I don't know, and at the moment I don't care. After all this, my older brother approached me, and he and I spoke privately. He told me that I was an asshole to my children. He understands my desire for revenge, but that I traumatized them by showing them those videos and talking to them like that about their mother. I told him that it was my wife's fault, not mine. But he told me he understands me, but he thinks that I should have waited a little before telling them. We argued for about 30 minutes. My brother told me again that I was an asshole. He is my brother, and he loves me, but he thinks I was cruel to the children. That happened 3 days ago, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. So, am I the a-hole? If you're wondering, my wife has tried to contact me and talk to me and the kids, but they don't want to see her, and neither do I. From what I know, she is staying at her sister's house. Edit. I forgot to say that the reason I told my children that and showed them the video is because I didn't want their mother to try to blame me for the divorce. In my head, I had to show them the proof that I wasn't the bad guy, and that is why I showed them the video. Comment. You showed a 6- and 7-year-old a video of their mother with another man. You're a creepy weirdo and YTA. Update. August 15th, 2024. Several people asked me for an update on private, so I will give it. I will try to keep it short. Also, many of you think that my story is false because it is not original. Truth be told, that made me laugh. What, you expect me to say that a unicorn came down from the sun? Believe me or not, it's your problem. I won't get on my knees so that you believe me. Basically, my wife cheated on me, I got proof, and I showed the proof to my kids so that they knew I was not the bad guy in our divorce, at least in my mind. That's the short version. A few days after posting, my wife asked me to meet her in public. I knew that sooner or later I had to talk to her. So I went there, a park. The conversation lasted about 2 hours. But these are the most important things she told me. She told me that because I sent the proof of her cheating to her mother, who has a terminal illness, her mother was devastated and disappointed with her. I told her it was her fault, not mine. She told me that her ex-lover's wife lost the baby. I forgot to say that his wife was pregnant, because of the proof I sent to her of her husband cheating with my wife. I told her that it was his fault, not mine. She told me what many of you said, that she could press charges against me for sharing those videos with others, the videos of her cheating, that I could lose custody of my children. Yes, biologically they are mine. I did something that I am not proud of. I emotionally manipulated her. I cried because, although it may not seem like it, all of this really left me emotionally shaken. I cried. I told her it was her fault and that I felt cornered. She cried. We cried for about 20 minutes until we were able to calm down. We talked and came to an agreement. She will keep the house and I will move out. She will have custody of the children, but I have the right to visit them as much as I want, whenever I want. She didn't lose her job because apparently her dad is friends with her boss. I know that legally this is wrong, but all things considered, this ended well for me. I won't share more. I don't know if her ex-lover kept the job or no, and honestly, I don't care. Now, I am currently helping my wife rebuild her relationship with our children. Little by little, they promised that they would try for me, and I decided to take them to a psychologist now so that the divorce will be less heavy on them. So yeah, that is the update. Is this original enough for you all? Now for some comments. Comment. I'm guessing her attorney advised her that what he did was illegal. So in lieu of not reporting it to authorities and not having it come up in court, he just gave in. OP. When I was a child, my father taught my brothers and me that if someone treats us badly, we should treat them much worse so that they would regret the day they met us. That's what I did. Maybe I went too far with my children, but for the rest, I feel like I did nothing wrong. Obviously, I'm happy that in the end things will go well for me in the divorce. OP on why he was showing the video to his children. In my eyes, I didn't do it to hurt my wife. I did it so that they could see with their own eyes that she was the bad one and responsible for our divorce, not me. Now on to the next story. Story 10. My broke best friend refused a job at my restaurant, saying, "Being a server is low and not respectable." Original post. This happened just before. My friend is broke. He hasn't worked in over a year. He's running out of savings and has even had to ask his parents to support him. I asked him many times why he doesn't try to get a job that's not in his field. He's got a computer science degree but has never worked in the field a single day in his life since graduating. He's turned down lots of jobs for reasons. They don't pay him enough, they won't give him a higher-up position right off the bat, etc. I'm well aware he's deluded in that sense, but he has many other good qualities, and that's why I love the guy. So, since graduating, the only job he's done is share marketing, something like online investing in Forex. He said he made about $20 a day, and that it was enough for him. He's single, lives in a shared house and doesn't spend much. Whatever makes him happy, right? The thing is, he's totally broke. I don't think he really is making even $20 a day on the shares because he's run out of money. He's stressed out and won't stop complaining about money problems. This is confusing for me, and I think it comes down to his pride not allowing him to get a job that's not fit for his ego. Now, I work as a server in a very nice restaurant and have offered him a job as a server many, many times. I have a great relationship with my boss, and after telling him my friend's situation, he didn't hesitate to say he wanted to help and would like to offer him a full-time job. My friend has been turning it down for months without really giving much of an explanation. Today, he called me saying his parents have cut him off and asked to borrow money from me. I said that as a personal rule I do not lend money to anyone, but that he was welcome to start working tomorrow with me. He again turned down the offer, and I got a bit frustrated because I'm offering him a solution to his money problem, but he won't accept it. So we got into a bit of a banter and he finally confessed. He thinks being a server is low and doesn't get you people's respect. I told him respect is earned by getting off your ass and doing whatever you have to make ends meet. I asked him if he thinks I'm low, and he backpedaled, saying he didn't mean I in particular was low, but the job itself was. He then straight out told me, "Nobody can respect me working as a waiter in my 30s. Wow. TBH, I'm pretty upset he thinks I am low for working as a server. I got a degree too, but I couldn't find a job in my field, so I had to take the first job I could. I'm not some prissy prick thinking I'm too good to serve others. I take pride in being a waiter and doing a great job. I'm so hurt by his comments. Why is he my friend if he thinks I'm low?" I didn't want to say something nasty or get into an argument with him, so I only told him he was being very offensive, and I felt like he needed time to think about what he said to me. He replied saying there was nothing to think about, then gave me a list of low jobs like street sweeper, cleaner, etc., and said it's a fact those are low, not respected jobs. I asked him to apologize before this snowballed into a full-blown argument, and he said he stood by what he said. I don't want to overreact, but I don't know if we can keep being friends after this. I really don't know what to do. I don't want to badmouth him, but he should examine his life and learn empathy. I'm a very easygoing and forgiving person, but what he said hurt me and was idiotic. The man who refuses to work is calling me low? I don't know what to do. TLDR, friend is broke. I offered him a job in a restaurant, but he turned it down saying it is low and not a well-respected job. Top comments. Comment 1. Honestly, be happy he didn't take the job because with that attitude, he wouldn't have lasted long and tarnished your rep with it. I don't want to overreact, but I don't know if we can keep being friends after this. Honestly, don't keep him as a friend. Doesn't seem that you get much out of the friendship anyway. Comment 2. Funny. Pompous ass is too good to work as a waiter but isn't above asking to borrow money from a waiter because he's too pathetic to go earn a living to take care of himself. It's easy. Take the job off the table because it's not appreciated or respected by him, and it will only end bad for you and your generous boss. Don't lend your friend anything and let him figure out his problems on his own. Simple life lesson coming. Update. November 24th, 2018. Next day. I made this post yesterday asking for advice on how to handle the situation with my friend. Basically, he's very broke, and his parents have cut him off. I've been offering him a job in the restaurant I work in for months, and he always turned it down. His situation got so bad he came to me yesterday asking to borrow money. I don't lend money to anyone as a rule, but I told him there'll always be a plate of food for him in my house, and he was welcome to accept the job offer and start working with me the very next day. Well, long story short, we had a bit of an argument, if you can call it that, and he finally confessed he thinks being a server is low and won't earn him people's respect. In an interesting turn of events, he called me today and said he'd thought it through and had decided he's willing to accept the job, only with one condition, as if he was the one doing me the favor that he's to be made manager right off the bat and that he should move in with me so that I can drive him to work because the bus from his house to my workplace takes 35 minutes and that's over an hour of commuting a day. He then suggested I move my youngest daughter into my elder daughter's room so that there's an empty bedroom for him in my house. So he obviously had given this some thought. I was dumbfounded. The sense of entitlement and the level of pride you got to have to make those demands is astonishing. I know he's never had a proper job, but he's not stupid. He has to know you can't be made manager if you don't even know the names of their dishes or how to serve a coffee. It's all about his pride. He's got an ego bigger than I thought. He can't be humble enough to accept a waiter job and work things out from there. He needs to be made manager so that it won't hurt his pride as much. TBH, I was so out of words I said, "I don't want to talk," and hung up. I can't explain how off-putting that conversation was. I feel repelled by him. I feel disgusted, as if something has changed inside me. I can't have a person like him in my life. What makes a person refuse all help just out of sheer pride? My wife says I've been patient and kind enough to him throughout the years, and I should let him figure things out on his own. He really is broke. Before his parents cut him off, they were covering his rent/bills, and he survived on the $20 a day he claimed to be making investing in Forex. I know he barely eats and can't even afford a new pair of shoes and some other stuff. I know he's got no money, but then why won't he accept the job? He's not shy, has no mental health issues, and has no problem dealing with people. He's refused many other jobs in the past, even jobs related to his degree, computer science. He's got the wrong idea that he should be given higher-up positions right from the start because he's him and that's what he deserves. That's the reason he hasn't worked a single day since graduating, like a decade ago. Anyway, I've gone to do some deep thinking and reevaluate this friendship because I don't like the person he's becoming. His dad is a bus driver and his mother a retired teacher. They are lovely, humble, down-to-earth people. I think they've done the right thing cutting him off. I know they're both struggling financially, so it's not fair for their son to leech off them. His mother even had to go back to work doing some tutoring in order to make some extra money to be able to support my friend. I'd be so ashamed if I made my 70-year-old mother go back to work just so I could be sitting at home dreaming of landing the perfect job while actively dying to get one. Anyway, I'm rambling, sorry. I'm just so mad. My wife says it's time to cut the cord and distance ourselves from him. I think she might be right. Edit. A yellow star has appeared next to my name. Does this mean I'm the sheriff now? We have reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us your thoughts about the stories in the comments section. Thank you and see you in the next video.